Chapter 83. What's the gap? Sir, I would like to apologize on behalf of my staff. I'll also answer to you. The manager made a bow to Wang Xian, apologizing before he turned to the salesgirl and inquired on the incident. Xiao Yu, come over. Wang Xian beckoned her. Which salesgirl despised you just now? Brother, it's nothing. She was just asking if we can afford it. If we can't, then don't bother to try it on. Xiao Yu was slightly embarrassed when she repeated the incident again. Hee, we can't even try when we're not buying? Wang Xian sneered at the manager. Of course not. Those who walk into our shop are our customers. We'll let customers try on the watches. The manager was looking woeful when he was being accused by Wang Xian. He looked at those salesgirls and asked coldly, who was the one who said no trying? Manager, I thought they were. The salesgirl whimpered as she tried to explain to her manager with a pale-looking face. Don't explain to me. If all our staff behave like you, could we even do any business? Who told you that customers cannot try on the watches? The manager cut her off without any emotion. Pack your things. Our store has no means to keep such an employee like you. Manager, I'm in the wrong. Please give me a chance, the salesgirl pleaded. The manager frowned and looked at Wang Xian, who was watching everything with his impassive look as always. The manager gritted his teeth. Cut your words and resign now. What a snob, said Wang Xian to the salesgirl emotionlessly. The salesgirl looked over with a pale-looking face as she was filled with regret. Just then, the other salesgirl packed the watch and said to Wang Xian, Sir, your watch? Wang Xian nodded his head and took over the bag before he passed it to his sister. Take it. Everyone says girls need to be pampered when they are growing up. Even though you're a grown-up now, it's not too late now. Wang Xian smiled as he handed the watch to Xiao Yu. Then, he looked at Zhao Wenrui and Jiang Shuang. You think you're rich and you can act snobbish? Heh, I didn't want to say it, but you're just brats. Many people are richer than you and your family. As he said this, he walked to Zhao Wenrui and patted his shoulder. Never mess around with my sister. You're not qualified yet. If you don't know what's good for you, I'll make sure the consequences are unbearable for you. After Wang Xian finished his sentence coldly, he turned to Xiao Yu and smiled. Let's go, sister. We are still short on shoes. Oh, do you want to get a necklace? Shall we go and get one now? No, brother. Let's go. Seeing her brother standing up for her, happiness and admiration crawled all over Xiao Yu's face. Her brother had always protected her like this. In the past, he would beat up the people who bullied her. Now, it was even more interesting. If anyone bullied her, he would slam them with money. Let's go. I have too many things in my hands. You'll have to carry some of them later. Wang Xian carried the shopping bags and headed outside. How did Xiao Yu's brother become a rich man? Gazing at their back views, a guy behind murmured in shock. Zhao Wenrui was looking sulky as his mouth twitched. What Wang Xian had said just now was an outright contempt, humiliation for how he was behaving on the first story just now. Yet, he did not dare to say anything. Since Wang Xian could take out $880,000 like a breeze for a watch, he could be someone formidable in the Rivertown. He dared not rebuke as he was afraid Wang Xian would find someone to hurt him. Jiang Shuang, on the other side, gazed at the back of Xiao Yu with jealousy. Why? Why does Zhao Wenrui detest herself and like Xiao Yu? Why does she have such a formidable brother? She took a glance at the watch she bought with heartache. Her face paled when she thought of the expensive watch Xiao Yu's brother had bought without thinking. It was futile to make a comparison. Okay, brother. We've got enough stuff. Everything is in. After getting the shoes, they even bought a few sets of lingerie. Xiao Yu was carrying some shopping bags when she spoke to Wang Xian. Yes, everything, including the clothes, is in. Wang Xian pondered as he observed the things in his hand. We're still short a notebook, a phone, and another iPad. That should be done. Oh, Xiao Yu, what else do you need? Gosh, my dear beloved brother, it's enough. The computer and such. You will get to use the computer. There's an Apple store here. Let's go. Wang Xian interrupted her and walked out on his own. Xiaoyu looked at her brother and followed behind with a happy smile. The gadgets were not expensive. A laptop, a phone, and an iPad cost only $30,000. Brother, we're really done with the shopping. Let's put these things in your dormitory, shall we? Xiaoyu smiled as she looked at Wang Xian, whose hands were full of shopping bags. I'll get you girls a hotel. Let's put the things inside and take a rest, Wang Xian smiled and said. All right, brother. Xiaoyu nodded. Wang Xian looked around and fixed his gaze on the Summer Sun International Hotel, the hotel owned by Shui family. Come on, follow me. As Wang Xian spoke, he took the lead in front and headed towards the Summer Sun International Hotel. When Xiaoyu was at the entrance, she gazed at the hotel's name and murmured, Summer Sun International Hotel, 5-star hotel? If it were in the past, she would never allow her brother to let her stay in such an expensive accommodation. But now, she has seen how her brother behaved like a nouveau riche. Hence, she was adapting to it slowly. Babe, give me a presidential suite. Wang Xian came to the reception desk and said to the receptionist, I'm sorry, sir. Our presidential suites are all fully booked. Would you like to choose another room? The receptionist apologized to Wang Xian. Brother, Xiaomi and I can stay in a standard room. There's no need for a presidential suite. Don't waste your money. Xiaoyu tugged his hand immediately. Fine, just get me any room. Wang Xian nodded his head reluctantly. He took out the family membership card that the Shui family gave him and handed it to the receptionist. When the pretty receptionist received the family membership card, she was slightly stunned as she was shocked to see the Summer Sun membership card. When she swiped the card on the machine, the computer immediately sounded off. Welcome our distinguished members for the family membership card. You'll enjoy the best service in the hotel. The pretty receptionist was stunned while the other two receptionists popped over immediately. They were shocked to say, it's the Homeland card, the most prestigious membership in the Summer Sun Hotel. Members will get to enjoy the best service in the hotel for free. Gosh. The pretty girl who was holding the card recovered from her shock. She immediately said respectfully, Sorry, sir. Our hotel has reserved a separate presidential suite dedicated to the members of the Homeland card. I'll take you there now. Sure, thanks. Wang Xian nodded. You're welcome, the pretty receptionist replied immediately. Xiaoyu and Xiaomi were staring at Wang Xian with surprise. Chapter 84, Getting a Car, 1. Brother? This hotel, you? When Xiaoyu saw the enthusiastic, or rather respectful, actions of the front desk receptionist, she couldn't contain her curiosity and asked, Oh, this hotel belongs to a friend of mine, the Shui family. They also have another holiday resort by the sea. This membership card was a gift from them. With this, everything will be free in this hotel and the holiday resort. Moreover, we will be able to enjoy the best service. Wang Xian explained to Xiaoyu nonchalantly. I'll find some time to bring you guys over to the holiday resort to play after tomorrow. It's pretty good. It's also a 5-star holiday resort. Xiaoyu's mouth opened and had a shocked expression. Seeing her expression, Wang Xian caressed her head and said, There's nothing your brother can't settle in Rivertown in the future. Therefore, don't be scared. Be confident because you are my sister. Brother, you are so awesome now. Xiaoyu's eyes shimmered as she stared at him. I guess I'm doing pretty all right. Wang Xian smiled. Mr. Wang, we are here. This is a room we use to receive our most important guests. There will also be a personal assistant. If there's a need, you could press the service bell and your personal assistant will arrive within 2 minutes. The beautiful female front desk receptionist brought them to the highest floor after opening the door to a room. All right, thank you. Wang Xian nodded his head and walked in. The entire apartment consists of 3 rooms and a living hall. The decorations were extremely luxurious, and one could see the beautiful city center by simply drawing the curtains and looking out. Wow, what a huge room. Xiaomi looked around with surprise. Not bad. You guys could stay here tonight. Wang Xian put the things down, sat on the sofa, and poured a cup of water for himself. Take a break for now. It's only 3 p.m. Let's go get something else in a while. We are still getting more? Brother, we already have all the things we need. Xiao Yu sat beside him. She held on to Wang Xian's arm and said, "Brother, you are so nice to me. Great that you know your brother is nice to you. Take a 10-minute break. What we are getting in a while will be useful to me too. Moreover, I have said that we are going to spend all the money on the card." Wang Xian smiled. After taking a short break, Wang Xian brought Xiao Yu and Xiaomi out and called for a car. "Sir, please take us to Cheyun Street," Wang Xian said to the driver. Taking a look at the car exhibition, the driver smiled at them and asked, "Car exhibition?" Wang Xian was surprised and asked, "Sir, is there a car exhibition today?" "Yeah, don't you know about that? I thought you were going to the car exhibition. Today's the last day of the exhibition. There are quite a number of people at the car exhibition. Hee. And a lot of beautiful models." The driver raised his eyebrows. "Oh, are there a lot of cars on exhibition?" Wang Xian asked. "Yeah, how could there not be? There are lots of supercars. The scale of this car exhibition is really big. You will know once you see it in a while." The driver nodded his head. Cheyun Street was where the 4S showrooms for cars in Rivertown were gathered. Anyone who wished to buy a car in Rivertown would typically come to this place. After alighting the car, Wang Xian brought Xiao Yu and Xiaomi and looked ahead. In the direction they were facing, there were many banners hanging around. The biggest one of all read Rivertown 5th Car Exhibition. The exhibition hall was huge, and one could see many people shopping in it. There were cars of various brands on display. "Let's go and get you a car. The reason why I've asked you to learn to drive in the summer is so you could become brother's driver." Hee. Wang Xian chuckled. "How could you let your sister be your driver? You are so thick-skinned." Xiao Yu rolled her eyes at him but still followed Wang Xian in. "Isn't that because I have no time to get a license?" Wang Xian laughed and walked ahead. There are quite a number of people at this car exhibition. There are a lot of models here too. Wang Xian looked around and saw many people. Some were looking at the cars while many others were looking at the car models. In front of each car brand, there were 3 to 4 car models. These car models were wearing seductive clothes that complemented their great figures. The cleavage they were showing added heat to the already hot summer. There were also quite a number of people taking photos, amongst which many were taking photos of these car models. Wow, there are so many people in cars. Xiao Yu and Xiaomi looked around them and were observing the surroundings in curiosity. This car's look is so beautiful. Right ahead of Xiao Yu and at the entrance, there were several luxurious cars that were worth several million on display. Xiao Yu pointed to a Rolls-Royce and exclaimed, "Rolls-Royce Phantom. This car costs at least $6 to $7 million. Wang Xian looked at the Rolls-Royce and was getting a little excited too. Men always had a love for supercars. Therefore, it was only natural that he would like such a domineering-looking car. However, he didn't have a license and couldn't drive a car. And the Rolls-Royce was clearly not suitable for Xiao Yu. "Let's go take a look around," Wang Xian said to them before walking further in. "Wow, this sports car is so cool." Xiaomi's eyes lit up when she saw the Lamborghini beside her. "Yeah. However, it would probably be hard to drive if the road conditions are bad. That Benz ahead looks pretty domineering. Benz G Series, the love of every man. Senior Wang Xian, why don't you get a car like this? It would be so cool." Xiao Yu and Xiaomi looked at the same car fervently as they commented raucously. Wang Xian simply smiled and agreed with what they were commenting as they looked through the collection of cars. This car exhibition was indeed pretty large scale. One could easily see international luxury car brands in this exhibition. Wang Xian was trying to decide on a car to get for Xiao Yu. He had looked up information on this a few days ago. For a girl, a Maserati would be more suitable and a top-end Maserati would cost less than $3 million. Nonetheless, he still wanted Xiao Yu to make her own decision and would like to see what she would like to drive. "Wow, that car is so stunning." "Yeah, it's really stunning and it's pink. That's simply beautiful." At this moment, Xiao Yu exclaimed and walked ahead. Xiaomi's eyes followed Xiao Yu as she walked over too. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked over. It was a pink Bentley Continental. A look at it was enough to capture the hearts of any young girl. The elegance and luxury of a Bentley paired with its pink color made it a classic car that fair, rich, and beautiful woman would prefer. Seeing Xiao Yu's excited expression, Wang Xian followed behind. Wow, stunning. A Bentley. A Bentley is very expensive and would cost at least a few million. Nonetheless, this pink Bentley is really breathtaking. Yeah. However, driving this car around would be a little too eye-catching. Xiao Yu and Xiaomi were discussing and couldn't help but take out their phones to take a few photos. Wang Xian simply smiled by the side and didn't comment. After looking at this car for several minutes, these two girls continued walking forward. At the display area of Maserati, Xiao Yu and Xiaomi exclaimed in unison. Girls typically preferred this car brand. And this car model was also more suitable for a girl to drive. Chapter 85. Getting a car, too. Those are the common brands inside. Wang Xian, Xiao Yu, and Xiaomi were shopping around the car show. All the luxury cars were placed at the entrance. As they walked further in, the cars in the show were mostly low to mid-range brands. The three of them walked one round briefly. Which car looks better? Asked Wang Xian to Xiao Yu with a smile. In terms of appearance, the pink Bentley is the nicest. Maserati is pretty, but if we're getting a car, I suppose a BMW or Mercedes-Benz will do, said Xiao Yu to Wang Xian with a smile. Come with me. Wang Xian nodded and smiled. He thought that since he was still left with over 4 million in his card, it should be enough to get that pink Bentley. When they returned to the pink Bentley, many people were gathered around, and the majority of them were ladies. The pink Bentley gave off youthful vibe amid elegance. Indeed, it was attractive to the ladies. Hubby, when you have the money, you can get me the pink Bentley, right? No problem, wifey. Tomorrow. If I got the lady of luck tomorrow, I'd buy it for you. Tomorrow? Hubby, why do we have to wait till tomorrow? I bought a lottery ticket, and the result will only release at night. If I win the first prize, we can come and collect the Bentley immediately. You go to hell. When they walked over, they overheard the young couple's conversation. Everyone around them was smiling amiably. This car is lovely, but it's too expensive. The entire car would cost 2 million. Alas. A middle-aged man who dressed like a successful businessman in his suit shook his head. It's Bentley. Even slightly cheaper ones will cost 3 million. The price of this pink Bentley can buy 2 decent houses. A girl next to the car mumbled as she could not stop taking pictures of the vehicle. Many people fancied the car, but they were being put off by the price. 2 million. Wang Xian observed the car carefully. He made a decision after he noticed that Xiao Yu took a fancy to the car. Hey, handsome. Wang Xian called upon the salesman who was standing next to the car. Sir, how may I help you? The young salesman looked at Wang Xian puzzledly and asked with a smile. Can we do a test drive? As Wang Xian asked, he took out a bank card. We'll buy it immediately if we're satisfied with it. That young salesman was slightly taken aback as he looked at the bank card in Wang Xian's hand. Immediately, he replied, Sir, hang on. I'll get my manager here. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. Brother. After the conversation, Xiao Yu tugged Wang Xian's arm and shook her head. Brother, this is too expensive. Besides, it's too striking. I told you to finish the money on the card. After getting this car, the card should have about $30,000 left. Just nice for your pocket money. Wang Xian chuckled. You still have more than 4 million on it? Xiao Yu's eyes were agape with her lips slightly parted. She looked cute with her shocked look. This afternoon, they had already spent almost $300,000 on their clothes and bags. After paying for a watch that cost nearly $900,000, the card still had more than $4 million on it. Gosh, he's a nouveau riche indeed. Diamond card from the Agricultural Bank of China. To get that card, you'll need at least $5 million in your account. Someone is really buying the pink Bentley. He's rich. This is the true blue nouveau riche. Buying a Bentley for his sister. Why don't I have such a good brother? He's the rich second generation. I'm sure. It seems like they spent the money on the card in just a day. Oh gosh. The crowd stared at Wang Xian shockingly. a slender and tall figure with good-looking appearance. At the same time, he had a unique demeanor which gave off a noble vibe. But the two girls beside him were somewhat ordinary, even though they were pretty. After all, there were too many pretty girls in this era. Xiaoyu, your brother is filthy rich now. He is actually buying you a Bentley that is over $4 million. If you drive this to school, I really can't imagine. Xiaomi shook Xiaoyu on her arm as she spoke with her eyes bright. Xiaomi, do you think I've become rich overnight? Asked Xiaoyu dumbfoundedly. You're a swan that turns into a phoenix now. I envy that you have such an awesome brother. Xiaomi said with envy. Hee hee. Xiaoyu chuckled as she wrapped her arms around Wang Xian's arm. Sir, are you buying this car? At this time, a middle-aged man was taking big steps as he followed beside the young salesman. With enthusiasm, he asked Wang Xian. Yes, but can we do a test drive? Wang Xian asked. Money is not an issue. We'll buy the car immediately if there's no problem. Sure, of course. The middle-aged manager answered, without the slightest hesitation. He knew that the young man had the buying power. Great. Where can we do the test drive? Asked Wang Xian. Sir, there's a place outside just for test driving. I'll accompany you guys there. The middle-aged manager replied immediately. Okay. Wang Xian nodded and looked at Xiaoyu with a smile. Let's go for a test drive. Brother, I've only had my driving license for a few days. What if I damage the car? Xiaoyu said with a bitter face, as she did not dare to drive. She knew the repair cost of the car would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's okay. The manager next to you will remind you. Besides, the car is insured after you buy it. If you hit the car, just repair it. Wang Xian smiled as he spoke without much thought. The manager next to them chuckled when he heard Wang Xian. Yes, babe. Don't worry. There was another sentence that he did not spell out. Nouveau riches are rich. You don't need to worry. Fine. Xiaoyu nodded her head and walked to the car. The middle-aged manager sat in the passenger seat to drop reminders to her. Wang Xian and Xiaomi were seated at the back seats. Here, babe, I'll do an introduction. The middle-aged manager got into the car and began introducing the various functions of the luxury car to Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu listened with flickering radiance in her eyes. The functions of this car were not what the cars in the driving school could compare to. Let's go. We'll take a drive out for 2 laps. The middle-aged manager said with a smile. Xiaoyu took a deep breath and spun to look at her brother. Don't worry and drive on. Don't be scared, Wang Xian said with a smile. Yes, brother. Xiaoyu nodded and drove out cautiously. She was driving with care as she had just gotten her license, but after 2 rounds of the test drive, she got her smile back on her face. Driving a luxury car was better than driving those ordinary cars. To a certain extent, it was a comfortable ride. Wang Xian looked at Xiaoyu's smile and turned to the middle-aged manager sitting at the passenger's seat. I'll get this car. Prepare all the paperwork for us. Sure. We promise to get you all the paperwork done today. The middle-aged manager was excited as his eyes were beaming. Sir, I'll return to the showroom first. You can take a seat over there while waiting. Sure. Wang Xian nodded. They drove the car back to the car show and followed the manager back to the 4S showroom. Director Chui, you're here? The Bentley showroom was spacious, and the decorations were extravagant with various luxurious Bentley cars in it. After they entered the showroom, the manager saw a middle-aged man speaking to a couple with polite smiles. He was slightly stunned as he hurriedly greeted them. Yes, I just arrived. Director Chui nodded and said, Manager Zhao, young Master Lin is buying that pink Bentley. Please help him with the paperwork. Manager Zhao revealed a shocked face and said hastily, Director Chui, a customer was about to pay for that car. Is it sold? The young man beside Director Chui knit his eyebrows slightly. Young Master Lin, not yet. When Director Chui heard the young man asking, he quickly replied, This car was prepared for you. How can we sell it? As Director Chui spoke, he looked at Manager Zhao. Let the customer know that the pink Bentley is already sold. We can recommend other cars for them. Chapter 86. Smash. You don't have to inform us. We have overheard everything. Wang Xian frowned upon hearing their conversation and walked over slowly. Director Chui was slightly shocked and looked at Wang Xian in surprise. However, he quickly recovered and maintained a smile on his face. I'm really sorry about this, brother, but this pink Bentley has been ordered by someone. If you would still like to have it, you could wait a month and I'll get the Bentley headquarters to custom make one for you. There should be a sequence in buying a car. When we want to buy it, this car hasn't been sold. Now that we are about to buy it, you're telling me that it has already been booked? Isn't this out of line? Are you fooling with me? Wang Xian looked at Director Chui and spoke indifferently. When Director Chui heard his words, his eyebrows knitted together. He was also wary of offending Wang Xian, as one who could afford a car over $4 million definitely wouldn't be a simple man. However, he was more wary of offending the young man beside him. Let's do it this way, brother. Why don't you take a look at other models of car, or perhaps you could wait for a month. I'll get one made for you from the headquarters. Director Chui looked at him and said. You can say this to the young man beside you, Wang Xian replied. Wang Xian's reply made Director Chui's face sink. His eyebrows were closely knitted together. In that case, I'm sorry, brother. There's nothing I can do. This car has already been booked by another customer. You haven't even paid for it. He's free to sell it to whoever he wants. What's there to quarrel about? The beautiful girl beside the young man looked at Wang Xian and said, clearly annoyed. That pink Bentley was for her, and she naturally wouldn't allow anyone to snatch it away from her. The young man looked on nonchalantly and didn't say a word. That's not wrong, but I'm not happy about it. Wang Xian smiled and said slowly, I'm a consumer and I'm not here looking to suffer such unjust feelings. There are many unjust things in the world. What can you do about it? Hee, brat. It's good for you to go through these experiences. The young man sneered when he saw how Wang Xian reacted. Wang Xian shrugged his shoulders and looked to the manager and Director Chui. We are here to buy a car and not for this. After trying out for so long and being just about to buy, you're telling me it has been booked? Moreover, it's clear that the other party hasn't bought it yet. Hey, brother, we are the seller. When Director Chui heard his words, his expression got even heavier. We are free to choose who we would like to sell to. Don't you hear them? They are free to choose who they want to sell to. What are you blabbering about? Annoying. They have already said that they aren't selling it to you. The beautiful girl at the side crossed her arms and remarked sarcastically. Great, great. A cold look surfaced on Wang Xian's face as the anger in him had built up. He was angry over what Director Chui had said. After trying the car for half an hour and being just about to pay for the car, he was told that the car had been sold to another person. Moreover, they weren't the slightest bit apologetic about it. Saying that they were free to sell to whoever they chose was the final straw. Whoever encountered such an incident naturally wouldn't feel good about it. In that case, I'll let you pay a price for it, Wang Xian remarked coldly. Since they had made him unhappy, he would also make them unhappy. Price? Hee. When Director Chui heard him, he smirked coldly and stared at Wang Xian with contempt. I would like to see what price you could make us pay. TSK, get out of my shop immediately. So arrogant? I wonder where he was from. Young Master Lin looked at Wang Xian from the side. Don't be so arrogant in Rivertown. Otherwise, you might not even know how you will die. I sure would like to know how I would die in Rivertown. The vibes of a divine dragon started spreading from his body gradually. Brother, let's just let it go. I'm not interested in this car anymore. Xiaoyu looked at the crowd around her. She started feeling a little worried and pulled Wang Xian's arm. Hee. When Wang Xian heard her sister, he released his aura and joked, Xiaoyu, just stand aside and watch. I'll let you see what your brother is capable of today. There's no one we need to be afraid of in Rivertown. Brother? Wang Xian caressed her head before turning his attention to Director Chui, young Master Lin, and the girl. Didn't you hear me? This is my territory. Get out of here, you brazen brat. Director Chui met Wang Xian's gaze. A newborn calf isn't afraid of a tiger. An arrogant brat like you would suffer a terrible death. Young Master Lin lit a cigarette and looked at Wang Xian as though he was watching a show. In that case, Let's see if I will have a terrible death. Wang Xian smirked and noticed a large hammer used for repairs at one side. He walked towards it directly. Brat, what do you think you are trying to do? When Director Cui saw Wang Xian go and pick up the hammer, his expression changed as he roared loudly. Young Master Lin also raised his eyebrows and stared coldly at Wang Xian. What am I trying to do? Since you made me unhappy, I'll just have to vent it out a little. Wang Xian's lips curved into a smile, and he turned his attention to within the shop. There were approximately 10 Bentleys in the shop. He carried the hammer and walked to the nearest one to him. Bang! The hammer smashed heavily on the Bentley, forming a huge dent from the ginormous impact. Director Cui's expression turned ghastly upon seeing Wang Xian smash the Bentley. Bastard, stop it right now. Otherwise, I won't hold back. I'm going to smash this shop and would like to see what will happen to me. Wang Xian glanced at him with murderous intent. The hammer in his hand smashed down on the Bentley once again. A huge dent appeared after a single smash. After smashing the Bentley 4-5 times, the Bentley looked completely wrecked. However, Wang Xian didn't stop and simply walked to the next Bentley to continue smashing. Stop! Call security. Get the security over here and kill him. Seeing that Wang Xian had smashed 2 Bentleys, Director Cui's eyes had turned red in anger as he roared loudly. The young man by the side threw the cigarette on the floor and stared at Wang Xian callously. Wang Xian smiled plainly and said, "After I've smashed all the cars, do show me what will happen to me." Currently, Wang Xian wasn't afraid of anyone in Rivertown. Xian family's influence could help him settle anything in the society. As for the Underworld, he was even less wary of anyone. Bam bam bam. Incessant thumping pierced through the atmosphere. Wang Xian had already smashed 5 Bentleys when the security guards arrived one after another. Stop! You better stop! When the 4 security guards saw Wang Xian smashing the Bentley, they were shocked. These are Bentleys that cost over $3 million each. Yet, he dared to just smash. And he had already smashed 5 of them. Wang Xian saw the group of security guards and smiled. He threw the hammer in his hand on the floor and stared at the red-eyed Director Cui. Come, I have just smashed 5 cars. Let me see what will happen to me. Bastard, you are dead. You are as good as dead. Seeing the fearless look on Wang Xian, he pulled out a phone directly. He didn't call for the police but dialed another number. The young master of the Ren family was here, and it seemed that young Master Run wasn't in a good mood. If he knew that there was someone causing trouble here, he would definitely cripple the troublemaker. The Ren family was strong and had interests in half of the 4 showrooms. This place was just one of them. It's over. This brat is as good as dead. Chapter 87. Anzhi's Actions. Anzhi was feeling despair and had been irritated these past few days. When he recalled what had happened the few nights before, he felt immense fear. His elixir field was destroyed, and now he had become a useless man. The one who ruined him was a half-step to inborn expert. He shuddered at the thought of the old man and the young man. He told his father, the current master of Ren family. When his father heard about this incident, he almost killed him to make amends with that expert. But under the persuasion of his mother, his father gave up the thought eventually. His father wanted to bring him along and apologize to them. But he gave up the thought as his father did not wish for anyone in the family to find out about this. If other elders in the family found out that he'd gotten into trouble with such a formidable expert, he would be beaten to death to atone for his sins even if his father did not do so. Blood and brutality filled the world of ancient martial arts. Even though Anzhi escaped the calamity, his cultivation was totally ruined. Initially, he had the chance to inherit the family as the leader. But now, it was completely out of the question. His elixir field was completely destroyed, and it was only possible to recover with the help of an inborn expert and some medicine. Obviously, the Ren family was not capable of inviting an inborn expert to treat him. After he lost all his cultivation, he was sent to one of the organizations in the family to manage some businesses. Damn, if it was not for those 2 idiots, would I have ended up in such a state? Anzhi was sitting in the office, staring at his computer. When he recalled what happened that day, he was fuming. If it was not for those two idiotic brothers-in-law, how would he have ended up in such a state? However, the two of them were also leading a tough life. Their limbs were crippled, and they had to spend the rest of their lives in wheelchairs. Besides, his brother-in-law's family also compensated him with half of their assets. However, no matter how much money they compensated him with, it could never be enough in exchange for his cultivation. Buzz. Just when Anzhi was feeling vexed, the phone suddenly rang. He displayed an impatient look when he saw the caller's name on the phone. "Speak out now," Anzhi screamed with an unpleasant expression. "Director Ren, I'm sorry to disturb you. Something happened in our showroom. Someone smashed 5 of our Bentleys. 5 of them. That person even taunted us." "What?" Director Chui's voice stunned Anzhi for a while. He raised his voice with rage. "Has the person left?" Anzhi darkened his expression as he asked with radiance flickering in his eyes. "Not yet, Director Ren. He's still in the showroom." "Great. I'll be there. God damn it. He's asking for it." Anzhi revealed a killing expression. He was feeling grumpy, yet someone dared to make trouble in his showroom. That person was going to be a piece of dead meat. In the entire Rivertown, everyone knew that the Rivertown 4S showroom had the backing of the Ren family. What a fucking fellow. Anzhi stood up immediately with a cold expression as he walked to the showroom. He was going to teach that outrageous fellow a hell of a lesson. "Lad, you're doomed. I'll make sure you regret what you did for the rest of your life. Just you wait. You're dead." Back at the 4S automobile showroom, Director Chui spoke to Wang Xian with a hideous look once he got the reply from Director Ren. "Director Chui, who did you call just now?" Young Master Lin asked with doubt when he heard how Director Chui addressed the person on the line. "I called Director Ren, the son of the Ren family," Director Chui answered. He continued coldly, "Director Ren will be here in no time. You are dead." "The son of the Ren family?" Young Master Lin was surprised as fear filled his eyes. Ren family was a huge and influential family in Rivertown. Lin family was far more inferior to them. The son of the Ren family was definitely not someone he could compare with either. "Director Ren will be here in no time. You're dead." Young Master Lin looked at Wang Xian as though he was a dead man. The pretty girl beside young Master Lin grabbed his arm and scorned at Wang Xian. "Lad, you're too arrogant. You actually bashed their cars when they didn't want your business. How ill-educated you are." Wang Xian swept his cold gazes when he heard them, his flickering gaze fixed on the pretty girl and young Master Lin. Just then, a voice suddenly cut the air before the person could arrive. "Who the hell dares to create trouble in the Ren family's turf? Are you sick of living?" When Director Chui heard the voice, his eyes flashed with happiness as he hurried over to greet the person. "Director Ren, that fellow is inside. He's simply too arrogant. He bashed our cars when we didn't want to sell the car to him. Director Ren, you must teach him a lesson." Director Chui explained as he ran. With a cigarette in between his fingers, Anzhi was looking cold as he saw Director Chui running to him. He nodded his head and walked inside. After he entered the showroom, he froze when he saw a young man, leaning haughtily against a Bentley. "Hello, young Master Ren. I'm Lin Feng." When young Master Lin saw Anzhi, he quickly went over and greeted him. Yet, Anzhi could not hear what Lin Feng was talking about now. He could see darkness in front of him as if he had fallen into the abyss. This young man. He would never forget him. His serene smile. His taunting look in the eyes. He recalled that night when even that domineering half-step to inborn expert had to listen to his commands. He felt suffocated. Why is it him? How could I be so pitiful that I have to meet this devil-like young man again? Anzhi shuddered in his shoes when he saw the curious and playful look in that young man's eyes. "Director Ren, he's the one who smashed 5 of our cars." Director Chui pointed at Wang Xian as he howled angrily to Anzhi. Anzhi paused his breathing, and his expression changed dramatically when he heard Director Chui. Fuck you. Are you trying to get me killed? Renanji jumped up and slapped Director Chui hard on his face. He almost exerted all his force on it. If his internal energy was still around, Director Chui could be dead with that slap. Renanji looked at Wang Xian with bitterness as he trotted over. Boom. Next, Renanji did something that shocked everyone. He ran over and knelt in front of that young man. That's right. He knelt, and the sound of getting down on his knees was loud. Everyone was blown away by Renanji's series of actions. He slapped Director Chui hard. Then, he ran over and knelt before the young man. He was the young master of the Ren family, the son of the leader of Ren family. Moreover, the Ren family was ranked as the number 2 ancient martial artist family in Rivertown. Yet, when he was confronted by the young man who smashed their cars, he actually ran over and got down on his knees. He got down on his knees. Chapter 88. Feared like a demon, revered like a god. Young Master Wang, I didn't know it was you. I have nothing to do with this. It's all these damned guys who offended young Master Wang. I have nothing to do with them. Young Master Wang, I'll apologize to you. We are at fault in this incident. I'll apologize. Wang Xian had initially wanted to wait for the person Director Chui had called before calling old Xian or trying to settle it by himself. However, it was beyond his expectations that the person who came was Anzhi. He naturally remembered him very clearly. He was from the Ren family. Previously, he was asked by Longxian Restaurant to burn down his first-grade restaurant. At that time, he was crippled by Mo Qinglong directly. What he had never expected was that Director Ren, whom Director Chui was talking about, was none other than Anzhi. Seeing Anzhi kneel down beside him, on the verge of tears, Wang Xian was speechless. Am I so scary? Is it fine for a guy to act like this? If Anzhi knew what Wang Xian was thinking currently, he would definitely cry out loud. How is he not afraid? Not only are you horrifying, but you are also the embodiment of the devil. Damn it. With a half-step to an inborn expert as subordinate, how horrifying your background is. A single kick from you is sufficient to finish off the Ren family. If I let my father know that I just offended this devil again, I'll probably be killed by him. I was wondering who Director Chui would call. So, it happens to be someone I know. Wang Xian looked at Anzhi. He rubbed his nose and found this to be a little hilarious. Young Master Wang, I didn't know it was you either. If I knew, I wouldn't have dared to come. Even if you beat me to death, I wouldn't dare to. Anzhi was shivering as he broke into tears. Since we know each other, I believe this matter could be settled easily. Wang Xian looked at him, smiled, and squatted down. Young Master Wang, we are at fault in this. I'll apologize. I'll kill Director Chui's apology. Please calm down. Anzhi trembled at the sight of Wang Xian squatting down. He was completely petrified. At the other end, Director Chui, who got slapped so hard that he bled, finally started to recover from the shock. However, when he heard what Anzhi said, he blanked out and lost consciousness. The security guards around couldn't help but swallow their saliva as they witnessed this unbelievable twist of events. When young Master Lin and the beautiful girl beside him saw this, their eyes were in a daze and their faces paled. Even Xiao Yu and Xiaomi were dumbfounded. Wang Xian looked around before turning to Anzhi. I'm not an unreasonable man. You can be the judge for me. Young Master Wang, please carry on. Please carry on, Anzhi replied immediately. Yeah, this is how it happened. I brought my sister here to buy a car, and we had our eyes on a pink Bentley. After trying it out for several rounds and making the decision to buy it, Director Chui told me that the car has been sold. He said that the car was pre-booked by that young Master Lin and wouldn't sell to me. However, it was clear that at the moment we were trying out the car and had confirmed that we wanted to buy it, this car wasn't sold yet. In other words, I wanted to buy it first, but he sold it to another person. Tell me if you would be angry about it, if you were me? Moreover, Director Chui wasn't apologetic at all and asked me to get out. That young Master Lin and the beautiful girl beside him even said that I was arrogant. I was courting death and was uneducated. Hee. Tell me now, can you blame me for what I've done? I can't. I can't blame you. We are at fault in this. Young Master Wang, I'll definitely give you an explanation that you could be satisfied with. When Anzhi heard Wang Xian finish his illustration, he gritted his teeth and replied quickly. He repeated, Young Master Wang, I'll definitely give you an explanation you could be satisfied with. Rest assured, it's those damned brats who have not followed the rules. Yeah, they are the one who did not follow the rules. I'm not an unreasonable person. Wang Xian smiled, nodded his head, and extended his hand over to pat Anzhi's shoulders. No, no, young Master Wang, please don't. When he saw Wang Xian extending his hand over, he thought that Wang Xian was meting out punishment. His face paled as he begged for forgiveness. However, he suddenly felt a warming feeling from his elixir field. To his pleasant surprise, he noticed that his elixir field was recovering gradually. This made him stare at Wang Xian in disbelief. I'm a very reasonable person. As long as you don't offend me, I wouldn't offend you. Wang Xian patted on his shoulders and smiled. Anzhi felt the power returning to his body. His face turned red in agitation, and his mucus was almost spit out. Thank you, young Master Wang. Thank you, young Master Wang. Anzhi was kowtowing to Wang Xian. He was unexplainably agitated, as he had not expected that this devil in front of him, no, this godlike young man could heal his elixir field. He had never expected this to end in such a fortunate way. Wang Xian smiled, stood up and signaled for him to stand up. Anzhi stood up immediately and stood beside Wang Xian with his head lowered like a servant. For these Bentleys that I've smashed, put it on the tab of Director Cui and that young Master Lin. Also, young Master Lin and the beautiful girl beside him threatened me, saying that I wouldn't even know how I died. I leave them to you. Wang Xian smirked as he turned his attention to young Master Lin and the girl beside him. Rest assured, young Master Wang, leave this matter to me. I'll definitely not disappoint you. Anzhi lifted his head and guaranteed solemnly. Since they dare to offend young Master Wang, I'll let them know what is meant by not knowing how one died. Anzhi was speaking very loudly. Young Master Lin and the beautiful girl beside him could definitely hear him clearly. When they met Anzhi's murderous stare, they felt a shudder down their spine and were petrified. Young Master Ren, don't. It's our fault. Please, young Master Ren. Young Master Lin's voice was trembling, and he looked horrified. Anzhi looked coldly at young Master Lin, smirked and said, How dare you offend young Master Wang and behave arrogantly in front of him? Just wait and see. We will have a good time together. Young Master Ren, you can't do this to me. It's my fault. Young Master Wang, it's all my fault. I didn't recognize that it was you. I deserve death. When Lin Feng heard the words of Anzhi, he was completely flustered. He looked towards Wang Xian in horror. In his eyes, this young man was the equivalent of a devil. He was petrified. Even young Master Ren kneeled down in front of him and begged for forgiveness. Just a word from Wang Xian was enough to make young Master Ren decide to mess with him. Looking at how young Master Ren behaved, he might very well be killed. His body was trembling as he begged for forgiveness. The beautiful girl beside him had turned as white as sheet, and her whole body was shivering. Who the hell did I offend? Wang Xian glanced at them without emotions. In the eyes of those who offended him, Wang Xian was feared like the devil. Similarly, he could also make others revere him like a god. All of this depended on his mood. If he was in a bad mood, he could cripple Anzhi. Anzhi's actions made him satisfied, and he could cure him with a wave of his arm. Feared like a devil and revered like a god. With regard to the control he had, Wang Xian enjoyed it greatly. Your life or death is all in my hands. Everything shall be as I wish. Chapter 89. Your brother is a legend. Young Master Wang, I've got the paperwork done for the car. Here's the key. No, young Master Wang, I cannot take your money. Just take it as a gift from me. Thank young Master Wang for treating my injuries. Take care and goodbye. Back in the showroom where the Bentley 4S showroom was, Anzhi was thanking Wang Xian with respect and enthusiasm. Wang Xian smiled when he saw his look. Good. I'm going off now. Young Master Wang, take care. Anzhi continued with a polite smile. Wang Xian nodded and handed the car key to Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, you'll drive. Let's go. Oh. Xiaoyu nodded. She took over the key hurriedly and unlocked the pink Bentley. They'd gotten the luxury car without paying a single cent on it. Wang Xian sat in the car and watched smilingly at his sister who drove the car out. Anzhi watched as the car dove away. He wiped the sweat on his forehead with a complicated expression on his face. What a domineering existence. I wonder if I should feel fearful or lucky to meet someone like him. Whatever it is, never provoke him. Never. He could destroy you when he is unhappy and heal you easily when he is in a good mood. Radiance flickered in Anzhi's eyes as he spun his head around slowly. He gazed at Lin Feng and the pretty girl, who were standing at the entrance. Just then, Lin Feng slapped the girl furiously. Because of her, he'd provoked that terrifying existence. Lin Feng, count yourself unlucky to have provoked young Master Wang, Anzhi said with icy cold eyes as he walked in slowly. Not many people knew what had happened in the 4S showroom. Those who knew did not dare to spread the word around. Gosh, aren't they Xiaoyu and her brother? However, a group of young people saw what had happened just now not far away. They saw Xiaoyu driving out with a brand new pink Bentley. It was a high-class luxury car, Bentley. Jia Wenrui, Jiang Shuang, and the rest watched in surprise as the pink Bentley disappeared before them. Her brother is rich. He actually bought her a Bentley. That luxury car costs about $5 million. Gosh, this is incredible. Too incredible. Several young people could not help but exclaim. They never thought that Xiaoyu's brother was that awesome. Jia Wenrui stood there with a mixed expression of fascination and awkwardness. Jiang Shuang was dumbfounded. Apart from being jealous, there was nothing else left for her. Bentley. Her dad was unwilling to buy a Bentley for her. Senior Wang Xian, you're way too suave. The person whom Director Cui called was so terrified of you. He even gave us a free car. Back in the car, Xiaomi spoke to Wang Xian with admiration. Brother, you have become so awesome now. Xiaoyu exclaimed too. Haha, don't you know who your brother is? Your brother is a legend. Wang Xian laughed and replied loudly. Xiaoyu also beamed. My brother is the best. Where are we going now, brother? It's almost evening time. I'll take you to my restaurant for dinner. Wang Xian looked at the time. He gave Xiaoyu the directions too. Restaurant? Brother, where's your restaurant? Is it near the school? Asked Xiaoyu curiously. Yes, it's near the school. After talking to Xiaoyu and Xiaomi, the car reached the entrance of the old street half an hour later. Cars are prohibited inside. You've got to park the car in the parking lot, Wang Xian told his sister. Yes, brother. After they walked out of the car, Wang Xian began to introduce the old street to them. This street is known as the Old Street. You can shop for stuff and have your meals on this street in the future. My restaurant is inside. As they walked, he introduced the delicious breakfast places and some street food to his sister. Xiaoyu nodded her head continuously as she asked questions curiously. Holding her brother's arm, Xiaoyu felt relaxed and happy. This is my restaurant, Wang Xian said to Xiaoyu when they arrived at the entrance of first-grade restaurant. Both of them looked up and were slightly stunned when they saw the restaurant's name. First-grade restaurant. Such a familiar name. Xiaoyu murmured. Xiaoyu, isn't this the restaurant that gained popularity on the internet lately? It was known to be the country's best restaurant. Xiaomi thought of the news she read recently and spoke in surprise. Yes, I remember. First-grade restaurant. Brother, never did I expect that the first-grade restaurant belongs to you. This restaurant is famous now. Xiaoyu stared at Wang Xian and cried out in surprise. Come on in. I'll treat you to a big feast tonight. Wang Xian chuckled as he led them inside. Director Wang, boss, As soon as the greeters saw him, they immediately greeted him. Okay. Wang Xian nodded at them as he looked inside. It was only 6 p.m., and there were almost 80 people in the queue. It was not hard to imagine the popularity of the first-grade restaurant. Director Wang. Upon seeing the arrival of Wang Xian, Manager Huang hurried on his way over. Did you reserve the seat I asked you to? I'm going to treat my sister to dinner. Get the kitchen to prepare two-headed abalone, Atlantic bluefin marlin sashimi, and Chinese bahaba fish gelatin. On top of that, prepare some specialty dishes too, said Wang Xian to Manager Huang. Yes, the seat has been reserved for you. I'll get the kitchen to prepare your dishes. Manager Huang nodded as he swept his gazes across Xiaoyu and Xiaomi behind him. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Xiaoyu. Okay, Wang Xian nodded. Then he went into the office and got Guan Shuqing out. Xiao Xian, is this your sister, Xiaoyu? Asked Guan Shuqing with a smile. She walked out and spotted Xiaoyu, who looked somewhat alike to Wang Xian. Yes, this is Xiaoyu, and this is her best friend, Xiaomi. This is Guan Shuqing, and she's your senior from now on? Wang Xian nodded. Hello, Xiaoyu and Xiaomi. Guan Shuqing grinned as she waved and greeted them. Hello, sister. Xiaoyu looked at the beautiful and elegant Guan Shuqing. She leaned to Wang Xian and whispered in his ears, brother, is she my sister or sister-in-law? What are you thinking? Wang Xian patted her head. Let's go for our dinner. Brother, I've realized that I'm simply too happy right now, with good food and nice clothes. Hee, I'm so happy to be attending university. My Xiaoyu will be the little princess from now on. Brother, you are wonderful. Enough of the sweet talk. I'll send you back after dinner. You've been running around for the entire day. Rest well tonight. Report to school tomorrow first thing, and I'll bring you out again. Wang Xian and Xiaoyu grinned at each other. Guan Shuqing was also gazing at them with a smile on her face. Chapter 90. Starting School. The time to report to the university had arrived, and the students turned up at the school one after another. Today was the first official day to report for the freshmen. Nonetheless, the Year 2 and Year 3 students were also rushing back to school. Just like the freshmen, the Year 2 and Year 3 students also had 3 days to report to school. However, there were some students who were responsible to receive the freshmen and had to arrive before their reporting dates. By around 10 in the morning, the entrance of the school had gradually seen students gathering. Moreover, there were cars parked everywhere in the vicinity of the entrance of the school. Scenes of parents bringing their children and walking into the university were common. Several young faces were carrying their luggage while looking around constantly at the campus where they would be spending the next few years of their lives. A pink Bentley drove over and stopped beside the school, drawing the attention of a substantial number of students. Let's find a place to park the car first. The school forbids us to drive the car into the school today. Wang Xian looked at the surrounding cars and spoke to Xiaoyu, who was driving. For the first 3 days of school, many parents would drive their children to school. In order to prevent congestion, the school forbid cars from entering the school. All right, brother. Xiaoyu nodded her head, found a spot, and parked the car. Let's go. I'll carry the things and lead you all to the reporting area. After which, we will head to the dormitory to unpack your luggage. Wang Xian said to Xiaoyu and Xiaomi as he dragged along their luggage. Other than some clothes and their laptops, they didn't have many other things in their luggage. Blankets were all issued by the school. After locking the car, Xiaoyu and Xiaomi followed behind Wang Xian eagerly as they looked at the school in front of them with anticipation. Xiaoyu had changed into the new clothes she'd bought the previous day. It was a beautiful long dress from Prada that revealed her fair arms. On her wrist was a watch from Patek Philippe which cost over $880,000. She didn't put on any makeup and had a natural, confident, and beautiful smile. If Xiaoyu was a swan the previous day, she was a beautiful phoenix today. An action or a single smile was enough to attract others' attention. It seems like our University of Rivertown will have another beautiful girl. Wang Xian looked at Xiaoyu and joked. Hee, brother, I have always been an adorable and beautiful girl, chuckled Xiaoyu. Let's go and report. After which, we are going to the dormitory to put down your things, Wang Xian said as he led them to the reporting area. Xiao Yu and Xiaomi had the same specialization, and therefore Wang Xian brought them to the same reporting area directly. There were teachers and students sitting at the reporting area. Seeing Xiao Yu and Xiaomi walking over, one of them spoke to Xiao Yu. Junior, take out your enrollment notice and show it to us. I'll get some students to bring you to your dormitory and inform you of the location of your classes. All right. Xiao Yu and Xiaomi took out the notice letter while the student at the side checked for the information of their allocated dormitory room. Wang Yu, room 303. Zhang Xiaomi, room 305. I'll get some students to bring you there. Let me go, let me go. When one of the boys saw Xiao Yu and Xiaomi, his eyes lit up as he volunteered enthusiastically. It's all right. I'm Wang Yu's brother, and I'm also from this school. I know the location. I'll bring them over. Wang Xian stood behind and smiled upon seeing the enthusiastic senior. In university, seniors were like wolves and juniors were little lambs. Many seniors would wait for the arrival of the juniors, ready to pounce when the opportunity arose. Wang Xian dispelled the ideas of that senior immediately. That guy looked at Wang Xian and was speechless. Let's go. I'll bring you guys over. Wang Xian smiled and led Xiao Yu and Xiaomi towards the dormitory. So beautiful. That junior is really beautiful. Behind them, the enthusiastic guy looked at the back view of Xiao Yu and remarked sadly. Hee Luwan, I think you should just give up on that idea. The girl sitting in front of the table said to the guy with contempt. Wang Mei, what do you mean by that? Why did you ask me to give up on the idea? I'm known to be attractive. You should take a closer look at that girl. The Prada dress is at least $30,000 to $40,000. Her shoes are at least $4,000 to $5,000. More importantly, if I didn't make a mistake, the watch on her wrist was the latest female model from Patek Philippe and costs more than $800,000. How would such a fair, rich, and beautiful girl be fond of you? The girl replied with contempt. That guy was dumbfounded and swallowed his saliva. She's so rich. Xiao Yu didn't pick up the comments from the girl behind her. She was full of smiles while observing the surroundings of the school. Wang Xian stood by her side and was explaining to the girls about the school. This is the female dormitory. Let's go to the 3rd floor. The first few days of school were the only days when a guy could enter the female dormitory legally. Wang Xian brought them to the 3rd floor. This is 303. Xiaomi, 305 is right there. Wang Xian pointed to another room and said to Xiaomi, We aren't in the same room. Xiao Yu commented grumpily. It's fine. We are still staying really close to each other. Xiaomi smiled before continuing. I'll go unpack my luggage. You should hurry too. Xiao Yu nodded her head and entered her own room. Each school dormitory room was for 4 people. The beds were at the top while the study desks were below the beds. When they got in, they noticed that the other 3 girls had arrived. Oh, the last lady is here too. Everyone is here now. All 4 of them. When they just stepped in, a rough, manly voice chuckled. Hi, uncle. Xiao Yu looked over and smiled radiantly at the ordinarily dressed middle-aged man. Hi, uncle. Wang Xian also greeted and looked to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had an honest smile on him and was probably from the rural areas. However, people like this were also the easiest to get along with. Hello. The girl beside the middle-aged man greeted Xiao Yu and Wang Xian shyly. The girl looked young and was very shy. Her eyes were bright and had an exquisite look. Her dressing was a little old-fashioned, a classic example of a village girl. Nonetheless, she looked natural. Hello, I'm Wang Yu. This is my brother, Wang Xian. My brother is also from our school and is in year 2. Xiao Yu smiled. I'm Yuan Yuan Yuan. Yuan 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 smiled nervously. Come, let's chat after unpacking. The middle-aged man smiled and said as he extended his hand over to help. It's all right, uncle. We don't have a lot of things to unpack. We can handle it ourselves. Wang Xian smiled and replied. All right, there's still some space here. The middle-aged man laughed. Wang Xian nodded his head. There was a blanket on the bed that wasn't spread open. Wang Xian crawled up the ladder to prepare the bed. As for Xiaoyu, she remained at the bottom to sort out her clothes and computer. They didn't have a lot to unpack and therefore finished quickly. When they were done, the other 3 girls had also finished tidying up with the help of their parents. Come, try some sweet candies from our hometown. We made them ourselves and they taste really good. The middle-aged man took out a bag of snacks from his bag. After opening it, he passed it to the people around him. Come, have a try. It's delicious. Chapter 91. Spoiled Girl. Okay, thank you, Uncle. Wang Xian and Xiaoyu took a look at the stuff that the middle-aged uncle passed over. Both of them smiled and took some when they saw the fried brown sugar inside. We don't have much at home, so I got my daughter to bring some of the hometown specialty for her classmates. Here, try it. The middle-aged uncle gave a good-natured smile and passed on the food to the other 2 families. Another 2 girls came with their parents. One of them was slightly plump, and so were her parents. Given their dressing, their family must not have been too poor. The family closer to the balcony was obviously a wealthier family. The girl was tall and slender with a good-looking face. She wore a large white tee with hot pants, revealing her fair thighs with a tattoo on her leg. Her lips were brightly colored with lipstick. Her mother's dressing was trendy, and she maintained her figure well. Her father had a slight beer belly with a lavish dress sense, just like the way bosses would dress. Thank you. The family members of the slightly plump girl nodded to the middle-aged uncle with a friendly look as they took some of the food. It's okay for us. The mother of the tall and slender girl gestured. You guys have it. We'll skip. Try them. Don't stand a ceremony. They are tasty. The middle-aged uncle raised his voice as he laughed. The taste is really good. Wang Xian tasted some and nodded his head smilingly. I told you, this is our hometown specialty, but we've got a secret recipe, so they taste better than the rest. When the middle-aged uncle heard what Wang Xian said, he beamed as he explained happily. He raised the bag to the family who had declined earlier on. No, really. The plump middle-aged man took a look at the cheap and unrefined plastic bag, frowning as he gestured his rejection. It's okay, try it. I'll pour you some for you to taste it. The middle-aged uncle stood up to share some of the food with them. I told you not to, however. An impatient voice sounded off at this time. The middle-aged uncle froze with an unnatural expression on his face. You kid! The lady spoke as she glared at her daughter. She laughed and said, Fengya is not someone good with words. Uncle, give it to me. It's delicious, he. Wang Xian chuckled as he stood up when he saw the middle-aged uncle was somewhat embarrassed. Great, go ahead. It's nothing. He. The middle-aged uncle squeezed out a smile on his face, pretending that he did not hear what that girl had said. He rubbed his palms together when he saw Wang Xian was eating. Feeling embarrassed, he said, My daughter, Yuan, is a little shy. I hope her classmates will take care of her and that they'll get along well with each other. If you wish to have more sweets, let me know. I'll get Yuan and to bring you some. Yes, my daughter is Xian. She has a sweet tooth. Next time, you and Yuan must get along with each other, along with other roommates, Xian's mother said with a smile. Yes, let's get along with each other. The middle-aged uncle chuckled and nodded. My sister and I are studying in this university, but I'm a year 2 student now. If you need any help in Rivertown, you can look for me. Wang Xian smiled. Young lad, you're also from the same school? You must be incredible since both of you made it to the University of Rivertown together. Xian's father exclaimed in surprise.
Yes.
Wang Xian chuckled. That's good then. The middle-aged uncle agreed with a beaming face. We're local people over here. Fengya knows nothing. I hope the rest of the roommates can help her out, the mother of the tall and slender girl said smilingly. Who said I know nothing? The girl pouted in dissatisfaction. What do you know, kid? Do you know how to do your laundry, wash the toilet? The lady stared at her. The girl was slightly displeased as she took out a box of ladies' cigarettes and lit one. Cut the smoking and get along well with your roommates. The plump, middle-aged man looked at his daughter before he turned to look at the rest. My kid is pampered. I hope the rest of the roommates can help out in things like cleaning. Thank you. What he said caused the parents of Xian to frown, but they did not make any remarks. The middle-aged uncle said nothing either. Xian raised his eyebrows and looked at the girl who was smoking. He then turned to her father and asked, "Since you are a local, why doesn't she just stay at home so that it is convenient to take care of her?" Xian was hinting. "Our house is far from the school. It would take about an hour to come here from home," the middle-aged man smiled and said. "Oh." Xian nodded and continued. "I think the four ladies should be responsible for the things in their room. They should do their own cleaning and keep their own things. The room is not big. It won't be tiresome to do these." And Xian looked at the girl who was smoking and said, "It would be best not to smoke in the dormitory for girls. That will affect other people." The atmosphere suddenly froze after Xian spoke. The middle-aged lady frowned immediately. The girl who was smoking was staring unhappily at Xian. "You're right. My daughter is too pampered. What has my smoking got to do with you? You're such a busybody." At this time, the girl who was smoking suddenly glared at Xian and rolled her eyes at him. "Fengya, how can you say such things? I told you to get along with other roommates." The lady told her daughter off hurriedly. But when she turned to them, she said, "It's just a lady cigarette. It won't stink." The middle-aged man darkened his expression. He looked at the time and stood up suddenly. "It's going to be noon. I'll treat all of you to lunch. It's also a kind of destiny for the kids to be sharing a room together. Let's have lunch together." "Yes, let's have lunch together so that the kids can get to know each other," the lady by the side agreed. "Well," the parents of Xian hesitated as they looked at the middle-aged uncle and Xian. "Let's go and have something outside." The middle-aged man stood up again and said, "Okay, then let's have lunch together." After much consideration, Xian's parents agreed to it. "Sure." The middle-aged uncle also agreed. But apparently, they had a bad impression of that family and that girl. Xian shrugged his shoulders and stood up with Xiaoyu. "Humph." The middle-aged man and the lady took the lead and walked out first. Their daughter followed behind. When she walked past Xian, she stared and snorted at him. Xian looked at her as he raised his eyebrow. "Brother, this girl is not easy to get along with." Xiaoyu stuck her tongue out to Xian as she whispered, "Let's go. We can talk over lunch. I also want to see what they want by treating us to lunch." Xian sneered. Chapter 92. Who dares to say it's not appropriate? "Dad, just leave your things here." "It's all right, it's all right. I'll be going off directly after the meal and will not be coming back. I still have to head to the construction site at the latest by tonight." "All right then, Dad. Be careful at the construction site." The middle-aged man and Yuan walked at the back of the group. Her father was carrying a gunny sack with some living necessities in it. Xian turned his head over, smiled at the middle-aged man and asked, "Uncle, are you working in Rivertown?" "Yeah, I'm working at a construction site. Yuan happened to be in Rivertown and I thought I'd drop by since it's near." The middle-aged man smiled. From his gunny sack, he took out a box of cigarettes. "Son, do you smoke?" "No, I don't." Xian shook his head. "It's good to not smoke. It's good. This isn't a good thing." The middle-aged man smiled and put back his cigarette. The group of people headed out of school. The middle-aged plump man and lady were constantly instructing their daughter on some matters. Xian and her family walked together with Xian and the middle-aged man, chatting along the way. Xiaoyu and the other two girls seemed to have gotten along well as they smiled and chatted. The group of people headed towards Old Street. Although it was already September, the sun was still very vicious. However, they weren't too far and the whole journey took only 5 minutes. "Let's go. I'll bring you guys to the most famous restaurant in the country, first-grade restaurant. For a simple meal." The plump, middle-aged man turned his head around and said to the crowd, "First-grade restaurant? Is it the same first-grade restaurant that is insanely popular on the internet recently?" Xian's father exclaimed with amazement. Yeah, it's that first-grade restaurant. It is also the most luxurious restaurant in Rivertown. The middle-aged plump man smiled and nodded his head. With pride written on his face, he continued, a meal would easily cost several thousand. Let's head there. Our kids will be roommates in the future, and it's also fate that brought us together. It's too expensive, too expensive. Let's just find another place and have a simple meal, Yuan's father quickly remarked. It's all right, it's all right. It's just a meal. Let's go. This meal is on me. The middle-aged plump man waved his hand nonchalantly as he walked ahead. When Xiaoyu heard where they were going, she raised her head and looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled at her but simply followed behind the middle-aged plump man, who seemed to feel that he was above others, towards first-grade restaurant. This is the most well-known first-grade restaurant in Rivertown. Come, let's go in. At the entrance, the middle-aged plump man spoke to the group and led them in. Welcome. As they entered, the greeters remarked passionately. Are there still tables available? The middle-aged plump man asked. There's only one more left at the main hall, the greeter replied. Your business is really good. It's not even 11:30 am. Let's go in. The middle-aged plump man led the way. Wang Xian and Xiaoyu also followed the group in. Director. When the two greeters saw Wang Xian, they were surprised. Just as they were about to greet him, Wang Xian immediately waved at them, signaling for them to not greet. Wang Xian simply followed behind the middle-aged plump man. The two greeters looked inquisitively at him and didn't continue. Look, these are world-class ingredients. So incredible. The middle-aged plump man looked at the world-class ingredients as he smiled and explained. Yuan's and Xian's father walked over inquisitively and were shocked by what they saw. Let's go. Let's have lunch now. When the middle-aged plump man saw their expressions, he nodded his head in approval and walked further in. Arg! At this moment, a scream sounded from the side. My clothes! What are you doing? Don't you open your eyes when you are walking? Look at what you did to my new clothes. Following this, a sharp shriek pierced the atmosphere. Wang Xian looked over in surprise and saw a tall girl sweeping her hands on her clothes with contempt. She had a ghastly expression on her face. I'm sorry. The middle-aged man quickly turned around and apologized when he saw the stain on her t-shirt. Why are you carrying this? Why did you carry such a dirty bag to eat? Don't you know that this is a high-class restaurant? You. The girl was furious and launched a barrage of insults at the middle-aged man. What's the matter, Fengya? The lady by the side looked over and asked, concerned. Mom, look at my clothes. These are new and cost over $2,000. They're stained now. The girl replied furiously. Uncle is walking in front of you. You probably knocked into him when you were distracted from playing on your phone. Wang Xian looked at this unreasonable girl and spoke with an unfriendly expression. If he didn't carry this, how would I knock into it? The girl stared at Wang Xian. We are in such a high-class restaurant to eat. Tell me, why did he bring along such a damned bag? Why is my father's bag a damned bag? It's clear that you knocked into him. Seeing the girl insulting her father furiously, Yuan's face turned red and she wanted to speak up for her father. Do you know where we are? This is first-grade restaurant. You group of country pumpkins. Have you ever been to such a high-class place? Can this thing be brought in? The girl retorted angrily. All right, Fengya. It's just a little dirty, and it will be fine after washing. The lady by the side quickly interrupted. Who says that first-grade restaurant doesn't allow him to bring this in? Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at the girl before turning around and seeing the nervous and lost middle-aged man and the unapologetic lady with her husband. Shouldn't he know that he shouldn't bring such a dirty bag here? The girl rebutted. What poor upbringing. You knocked into him, and yet tried to blame him for it? Wang Xian spoke to the girl coldly. This time, he had no intention to be polite and shouted directly. What are you saying? You are the one with a poor upbringing. Have you been here before? This is one of the highest class restaurants in the entire country. Can this damn thing be brought in? The girl pointed at Wang Xian. All right, Feng Ya. Stop it. Brat, you should stop too. The middle-aged plump man frowned and shouted. Shut up. When Wang Xian heard his words, he was enraged. He had never thought that he would encounter such a unique family. Who said that you cannot bring a gunny sack in? Tell me. It's the fault of the parents if the child makes a mistake. Teach your daughter well. Brat, since when are you qualified to criticize my daughter? The lady exploded upon hearing Wang Xian. What's wrong with complaining a little after my daughter's shirt got stained? Besides that, is it appropriate for him to carry a gunny sack here? He can if he wishes. Why is it inappropriate? In this place, who dare to say it's inappropriate? Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at them. At this moment, the quarrel between Wang Xian and them had drawn the attention of the surrounding crowd. Manager Huang was shocked to hear his boss's voice. He immediately ran over. Director Wang, what happened? Manager Huang walked to Wang Xian and asked nervously after seeing his fuming boss. Chapter 93, Get Out. It's okay. Wang Xian shook his head to Manager Huang, who came in and checked on him. Then he turned to look at the middle-aged lady and her daughter. With a cold voice, he said, The first-grade restaurant is my restaurant. What's wrong with my customers carrying a bag when they are dining in my restaurant? Tell me who forbid the bag to be carried here? You know it very well yourself if your daughter is ill-mannered. She was spoilt by you. But I'm telling you this. You can pamper your daughter, but others will not. So, don't boss people around. No one is giving in to you here. If you have a temper, I'll beat you till your temper is gone. Wang Xian looked at Manager Huang impatiently and said, Throw the three of them out. I get annoyed when I see them. Yes, Director Wang. Manager Huang nodded his head and looked at the three of them. In a cold tone, he said, Please leave the first-grade restaurant. Otherwise, we'll chase you out personally. You. The middle-aged couple was stunned with mixed expressions on their faces. They did not expect that the young man before him owned the first-grade restaurant. Isn't he just a Year 2 student? How could he be the boss of the first-grade restaurant? However, the manager who was staring at them coldly wanted them to get out. The middle-aged man had an embarrassing expression as he clenched his fist tightly. Their daughter was shocked to witness this, and her facial expression changed dramatically. If you are not going out, don't blame us for it. Seeing that the three of them were keeping still, Manager Huang warned them again. Fine, you're good. The middle-aged man stared at Wang Xian with a darkened expression as he headed out. The lady was fuming with redness flushing to her cheeks. She glared at Wang Xian angrily as she pulled her daughter out of the restaurant. The girl also stared at Wang Xian ferociously as she followed her parents. Never did I expect that this lad is the boss of the first-grade restaurant. The middle-aged man walked out with a sullen look. His facial expression continued to change. Given the current strength of the first-grade restaurant, he could somewhat guess how influential the boss was. He was only running a construction business for a property company. Even though his status was not too low, he would not dare to provoke the first-grade restaurant's boss. Just when the plump middle-aged man walked to the entrance, he saw a familiar figure at the door. He stopped walking as an idea came to him. Immediately, he put up a smile and greeted him, Director Sun. I wasn't expecting to see you here. Hey, old Zhao, you're here with your family? Have you eaten? Asked a man with a smile. He was in his 30s, and he was slightly taken aback when he looked at the middle-aged man. No, not. The middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. I'm meeting a few business friends. Since all of us know each other, let's have lunch together. Director Sun smiled as he invited him. Director Sun, perhaps you can help me out with one thing? The middle-aged man looked towards Director Sun hopefully with cold radiance flashing in his eyes. Director Sun and he were quite familiar with each other. To be exact, he was relying on the property developers under Director Sun for his livelihood. Director Sun was working in the property developing company as high management with waters that ran deep. His networking power was extensive as he got dozens of helpers at hand to settle those stubborn households who were reluctant to move. Apart from that, Director Sun owned 3 to 4 nightclubs, bars, and KTV. Many people who were working in Rivertown had to lower themselves and address him as Second Master Sun respectfully. Director Sun could almost call the shots in the Rivertown. So what if he was the boss of the first-grade restaurant when he could ask for help from Director Sun? Help? What is it about? Director Sun looked at the middle-aged man, puzzled. Director Sun, just now the boss of the first-grade restaurant threw us out of the restaurant. I hope you can settle this for me, said the plump middle-aged man with a bitter face. The boss of the first-grade restaurant? Director Sun was slightly shocked as his expression darkened when he heard it. He looked at the middle-aged man with radiance flickering in his eyes. Why did he chase you out? This. Director Sun, this is a long story. That lad was rude, and he actually scolded my daughter. This is simply too much. Director Sun, I can't swallow this down. Since you're so formidable, I hope you can avenge me. I'll repay you handsomely, the middle-aged man said with a solemn face. You're kidding your father. Director Sun looked at the girl beside him and said slowly. What? The middle-aged man asked puzzledly, hearing his weird remarks. It's all right. Wait for my news here, Director Sun said to the middle-aged man with a disdainful look in his eyes. Great. When he heard Director Sun's promise, sharp radiance filled his eyes. Thank you, Director Sun, for avenging for me. Tomorrow night, I'll treat you to a sumptuous dinner. Okay. Director Sun gave a gentle nod. Director Sun, please have your lunch. I shall not disturb you anymore. The middle-aged man gave a polite smile as he spoke. Director Sun nodded and entered the restaurant. Hubby, is this the formidable Director Sun that you mentioned? The lady beside them overheard their conversation and asked with a pair of beaming eyes. Yes, he's the one. The middle-aged man revealed a thrilled expression. Director Sun has promised that he would avenge for me. Humph, a restaurant owner. No matter how famous his restaurant is, he can never outfight Director Sunday. Dad, you should get someone to bash that lad up. He's too arrogant, said the girl ruthlessly as she clenched her fist tight. That's enough. The middle-aged man looked at his daughter and frowned. Can't you stop throwing your temper around? With such a character, how can you make friends in school? I wanted to treat them to lunch so that your roommates could take care of you. Now, you ruined everything. But, since Director Sun has agreed, that lad is either going to lose his arm or his leg. Who wants them to take care of me? I'm not befriending them. Don't meddle in my affairs, will you? And Dad, don't let that arrogant fellow get away that easily. The girl waved her hands impatiently. You imp, the middle-aged man walked out. What an ignorant fellow. Director Sun turned and looked back at the family who just left with cold-looking eyes. But I have to thank this idiotic fellow. Director Sun raised his eyebrow and grinned as he looked inside the restaurant for Wang Xian. There. His eyes brightened up as he walked to a table in the hall immediately. He still remembered clearly how the young man had shouted at the banquet that night. You might want to ask if Qing Guohui dares to say this to me. Back then, everyone was shocked, including him. In particular, old Qin showed up and chased Second Master Qin out of the Qin family. Not only this, but old Qin even bowed and apologized to him. That scene left a deep impression on him. How formidable could this young man be, such that even old Qin needed to bow and apologize to him? He was only someone from high management under the ruling of Qin family. It was not an exaggeration to say that he looked highly upon this young man. Since there was a chance to fawn upon this young man, he must seize it for sure. Chapter 94. I don't have to do it myself. Uncle, please let Manager Huang keep your stuff in the office while we have our meal. On the other side, Wang Xian smiled and spoke to the middle-aged man who was still in shock. Hey, son, thank you. You are a really nice person. The middle-aged man recovered and replied. His eyes were a little red from the incident. It's just a small matter. It's fate that brought us together. Wang Xian smiled at the middle-aged man. Let's go and find a seat. With regard to this simple middle-aged man, Wang Xian was fond of him. He still remembered vividly that while living with his sister and grandmother, there was a middle-aged man called Uncle Zhang who took great care of them. Uncle Zhang was a very nice guy and had been very caring towards him. He also had an honest smile at all times and was passionate about everyone around him. During the harvesting season, Uncle Zhang would always help them, as he knew that Wang Xian's grandmother couldn't take the toll. After their grandmother passed away, it was also Uncle Zhang who helped them with the funeral matters. He had even spent a lot of money because of that. I wonder how Uncle Zhang is right now? I should return and repay him for what he has done for me, Wang Xian thought to himself. The middle-aged man in front of him right now was polite, followed the rules, and was similar to Uncle Zhang. A look at him, and one could tell that he was a great person. I really hadn't expected you to be the boss of this restaurant. Incredible. Really incredible. To be so outstanding at such a young age. Su Qian's parents were shocked and their eyes lit up while complimenting Wang Xian. I'm just lucky. Wang Xian smiled. Come, let us all take a seat. Let's forget about the unhappy events. As for the girl with a poor upbringing, just ignore her in the future. It will be fine as long as the three of you get along well. Yeah. Su Qian and Yuan nodded their heads while looking at him with eyes of worship. Handsome and righteous. This is the type of guy that every young girl would fall in love with. Yuan, remember to get along with them. These two girls are great friends to have. The middle-aged man said emotionally while caressing his daughter's head. I know it, Dad. Rest assured and don't worry about me. Yuan was sensible and cared a lot about her father. Wang Xian smiled and said, if you encounter any issues in school or Rivertown in the future, feel free to look for me. Thank you, son. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. The middle-aged man and Su Qian's parents immediately thanked him. It's a small matter. We are all from the same school after all. Wang Xian waved his hand and the seven of them walked to a table. Young Master Wang. At this moment, a young man walked over suddenly and greeted Wang Xian. You are? Wang Xian looked at the young man who had appeared suddenly. Young Master Wang, we met once at the banquet of Old Qian. Perhaps young Master Wang doesn't remember me. This person was none other than Director's son, as he said respectfully. Oh, I'm sorry about it. Wang Xian smiled apologetically but still had doubts about his intentions. Young Master Wang, this is what happened, Director's son said immediately. I bumped into Zhao Jingshan, and he told me something. Director's son saw the doubtful eyes of Wang Xian and quickly clarified. Zhao Jingshan is the slightly plump middle-aged man. I just bumped into him and his family at the entrance. You know them? Wang Xian frowned. I'm not close to him, not even close. Director's son explained immediately. Zhao Jingshan is a construction material supplier under Qin family's property company. I'm a manager of the company and am capable of some things. He wanted me to cause you some trouble when I bumped into him at the entrance a while ago. Such a despicable person has to be punished. Young Master Wang, I suggest that I let the company stop working with him. Moreover, I'll ask all the developers in Rivertown to not work with him. What do you think of this? Director's son asked. I leave this to you. Wang Xian nodded and said to Director Sunday, thank you. Young Master Wang, you are too courteous. It's just a small matter. In that case, I shall not take up any more of your time, Director Sun replied immediately with a smile. Wait a minute. How do I address you? An idea struck Wang Xian as he stopped Director Sunday. Young Master Wang, you can just call me Xiao Sun. When Director Sun heard Wang Xian stop him, he was thrilled. I'll just call you Director Sunday, Director Sun. I have something to trouble you with. Wang Xian looked at him and smiled. This is the father of my sister's classmate. He is currently working at a construction site. Help me keep a lookout if there are any suitable jobs for him. Work. Director's son was taken aback, following which, excitement flashed in his eyes. Yes, there is, young Master Wang. We are looking for a security department head, and there are also many vacant slots in the quality inspection department, which is recruiting. The salary isn't particularly high, but is still around several tens of thousands a month, Director Sun remarked. He turned to the middle-aged man and said enthusiastically, Brother, come look for me. This is my name card, and can I get your number? I'll give you a call after lunch. At that time, I'll bring you over. The middle-aged man was stunned. Looking at this well-dressed young man, he was at a loss as to what to do. Although the middle-aged man was from the village, he wasn't silly. He could roughly deduce the ability of this young man in front of him. The parents of the girl a while ago were just a small partner of his, and they were already doing so well. Currently, this even more incredible person was being so enthusiastic to him. This had completely thrown him off. This, director's son. The middle-aged man stood up immediately. He looked at Wang Xian and waved his hand constantly. Hey son, this wouldn't do. I know what I'm capable of. It's all right if you want me to do some menial work. As for others, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's all right, uncle. You can learn while doing. If you really can't, you are free to switch to a more ordinary job. Wang Xian stood up and patted the shoulder of the middle-aged man. He looked to Director Sun and said, Director Sun, take down my number. If there's anything, you can call me directly. I'll contact you directly with regard to this, uncle, in the future. Sure. Director Sun nodded his head gladly and took out his phone. All right, let's talk again after lunch. Wang Xian nodded at Director Sunday. Sure. In that case, young Master Wang, have your lunch first. We are going for lunch too. Director Sun nodded his head and smiled. Looking at the shocked look on the middle-aged man, he added, Uncle, take a seat. It's just a small matter. Sigh. Son, you are truly a great guy. Really. Thank you. I have to thank you. The middle-aged man was so moved that he became incoherent. It's really a small matter. Uncle, you are a great guy, and I was just helping you within my means. Wang Xian shook his head and continued, Let's eat. If you all are free in the future, ask Xiaoyu to bring you over. Don't stand on ceremony. Thank you, senior. Yuan replied gratefully. You're welcome. We are roommates and will be living together for 4 years. This is just a small matter. Xiaoyu held on to Yuan's arm and chuckled. Su Qian's parents, who were sitting at the other end, looked at the young man in shock. Without having to do anything, there were people coming over to help eradicate that cocky family. With just a request, he could give the middle-aged man a job that many others desired. They were convinced that they should ask their daughter to be good friends with his sister. Chapter 95. Underworld Affairs. Brother, where are we going? After Wang Xian settled the middle-aged man, Xiaoyu, Yuan and Su Qian questioned him after their lunch. It's about 2 o'clock. Why don't we? Buzz. Just when Wang Xian was about to take them to the Summer Sun Resort to relax, his phone suddenly rang. Old Shui. Wang Xian took out his phone and looked at the number with surprise. Old Shui seldom called him. It was always Shui Jing who contacted him the most. Hello, Old Shui. Wang Xian picked up the phone and greeted doubtfully. Wang Xian, are you busy? Old Shui's voice was heard on the phone. Her? What's the matter, Old Shui? Asked Wang Xian curiously. There is something that I would like to discuss with you. Old Xian is with me too. I wonder if you're free in the afternoon. Wang Xian hesitated before he nodded. Okay, I'll pop by. I'll send you the address, or I can get someone to pick you up. I can go over on my own. You can just send me the address. Sure, see you later. Wang Xian nodded and hung up. He glanced at Xiaoyu and the other 2 girls with a shrug of his shoulders. Xiaoyu, I can't keep you company in the afternoon. I've got something going on. That's great. It would be inconvenient for the 3 girls to follow you around too. Hee. Besides, we can check out the school too, said Xiaoyu to Wang Xian with a smile. You little one, go ahead and have fun. I've got to go. Wang Xian patted her head and followed them to the school. He came to the back of the dormitory and rode on his Harley motorcycle before he headed to the place Old Shui sent him. Wow, Xiaoyu. The Harley motorcycle that your brother is riding is so cool. Do you think I could stand a chance with him after I slim down? Su Qian looked at Wang Xian with affectionate eyes. She then looked at her plump figure with dissatisfaction. Hee, my brother seems to have a girlfriend, but if you slim down, I'm sure you will be gorgeous. Xiaoyu chuckled as she spoke. You're very kind, said Yuan gratefully as she gazed at Wang Xian, who had left, and Xiao Yu, who was right by her side. That's enough. I wanted to get my brother to bring us out, but since he has something on, we can walk around and get some daily necessities. We should also decorate our room too. The address that old Shui sent him was not Summer Sun Resort. It was another place. An area that was near the sea with many villas, bamboo forest estate. When he reached it, Wang Xian made a call, and Shui Jing rushed over soon after. Brother Wang Xian, you're here. My grandfather and old Xian are waiting for you. What did old Shui and old Xian ask me here for? Wang Xian asked Shui Jing curiously. Shui Jing paused before he said, should be something to do with the Underworld affairs. Underworld affairs? Shui Jing nodded slowly. There were two ecosystems in the current modern world, society and Underworld. Underworld was a place for people who possessed domineering powers. Wang Xian followed Shui Jing into the villa, which was surrounded by a bamboo forest. Along the path, he found a quiet stream with a small bridge that made a picturesque scene. From the wooden door, he entered into a courtyard where he could see some nostalgic and posh-looking houses. In the courtyard were some ponds with ornamental fish. Old Xian and old Shui were sitting under a willow tree on the left, drinking their tea. Wang Xian is here. Both old Shui and old Xian smiled and greeted him as they saw him. Sorry to keep both of you waiting. Wang Xian smiled and sat on the seat beside them. Shui Jing was filling a cup of tea for him. I just arrived not long ago too. Old Xian smiled and shook his head. We wanted to discuss something with you today. Hence, we invited you over. What is it about? Wang Xian took a sip of tea and asked. Let me explain. Old Shui straightened his posture with a solemn expression. It has something to do with the Underworld. Something has been brewing in the Underworld these past 2 days. Those hidden clans and sects revealed themselves one after another. I'm afraid there will be upheavals in the Underworld soon. Oh. Wang Xian expressed his curiosity. Hidden clans? Hidden sects? That's right. The #1 ancient martial arts family in Rivertown, Yin family, returned yesterday after staying out of Underworld affairs for 20 years. The Lingluo sect of the provincial city began their recruitment of disciples all of a sudden. Fierce battles broke out between the two sects in the north due to some cultivation treasures. A sect in the Eastern Sea announced that they will be expanding and recruiting more disciples. The Sacred Followers Guild began their recruitment too. Old Shui explained this slowly to him. Yin family? Disciples recruitments? Wang Xian was deep in thought. Why did these hidden clans and sects start their recruitments all of a sudden? Because they wanted to compete for resources in advance. Old Shui frowned and continued. Currently, the cultivation resources are lacking. It is even scarce when we're now in the modern era. These hidden clans needed more people to search for resources, tackle other living creatures, and refine medicines. Other living creatures? Wang Xian was stunned as he raised his eyebrows. Yes, Wang Xian. You may not know these. Humans are not the only domineering ones on Earth. There are also other creatures around. Let's not go into the mysterious ocean. Numerous spirits and monsters lie in the mountains and rivers too. Creatures like sea monsters that lurk around various lakes, and the well-known monsters in the mountains are all spirits and monsters. Just like Dahai Lake in the Rivertown. I'm sure you would have heard of all the tales about the sea monsters in Dahai Lake. Upon hearing that, Wang Xian nodded his head gently. Dahai Lake was a lake that connected to the sea. The lake was huge with a depth of 178 meters. He knew about the tales with regards to the sea monsters in Dahai Lake, but he did not pay attention to it. The tales about the water and sea monsters have always been around, but not all are rumors. They really exist. Currently, we're lacking cultivation resources. Hence, we need to find other ways to them. Just recently, someone caught some powerful creatures to enhance their own strength, and the effect was significant. Currently, various ancient martial artist families surfaced just to compete for these resources. The Underworld will be greeted with bloodshed and brutal fights again. At that time, not only the hidden ancient martial artist families will be involved, but ancient sects might also join in too. Wang Xian listened quietly to the conversation between Old Xian and Old Shui. From the conversation, he had a deeper understanding of the cultivation techniques of the various clans and sects in this world. Currently, not only the ancient martial arts existed, but there were also ancient yoga, ninjutsu, Western bloodline art, and beast transformation art. But, in actual fact, all cultivation arts may seem different, but they were similar to each other. Towards the later stages of the cultivation, all the goals of the cultivations were the same. Wang Xian not only learned about the cultivation arts, but he also found out a lot of anecdotes about the underworld's mountain spirits and sea monsters. That's interesting. Sea monsters? Currently, my cultivation speed is too slow. Perhaps I can devour them or recruit some sea monsters to build up the Dragon Palace as soon as possible. Wang Xian pondered to himself. He was not concerned about those hidden clans which surfaced in the underworld again. He trusted himself and the dragon sect which was developing rapidly. Chapter 96, Prime Minister Turtle 1. There was still another reason why Old Xian and Old Shui invited him over for a discussion, and that was strength in numbers. They hoped that Wang Xian would ally with them and that they could help one another out. When Wang Xian understood their thinking, he hesitated for a moment before agreeing to the suggestion. The reason as to why Wang Xian chose to ally with Old Xian and Old Shui wasn't because of their strength. Instead, he felt that Old Xian and Old Shui were nice people and worthy friends. Otherwise, with his current strength and the powers of the dragon sect, it wasn't necessary for him to ally with them. When he walked out of the meeting with Old Xian and Old Shui, it was already 8 p.m. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before heading towards the sea. He hadn't been back for a few days and was wondering about the progress of the establishment of Dragon Sect. At the seaside, Wang Xian removed his clothes and easily jumped out over 10 meters. Splash! After letting out a light roar, Wang Xian transformed into a 5 meters long divine dragon. 5 elements divine dragon with 5 different colors. Wiggling his body, Wang Xian swam towards the island in the middle of the sea at an incredible speed. Executing water-controlling techniques along the way, he arrived at the island 5 kilometers away in a single minute. There are quite a number of boats around. Wang Xian noticed a few boats around the island. The island was brightly lit, and he could see some figures moving on the island. With a thought, an invisible dragon power spread towards the island. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Soon, several figures descended by the seaside. Dragon King, Emo Qinglong and his disciple, together with all the Dragonians, rushed over and kneeled down in front of Wang Xian with respect. Martial Artist Level 6. Not bad. To be able to reach Level 6 in such a short time. Wang Xian looked towards the group of Dragonians before turning his attention to Emo Qinglong and his disciple. Emo Qinglong had already reached the inborn realm, and his disciple had reached Martial Artist Level 8. What's the progress of establishing Dragon Sect? Wang Xian looked at the island and asked. Dragon King, we are right on track. In just about another month, Dragon Sect will be established. At that time, our might will definitely spread through the world. Emo Qinglong's eyes lit up as he reported. Great. Cultivate diligently. Wang Dahai nodded his head. Flipping backward, he dove back into the sea. Sending off the Dragon King, the group of Dragonians kneeled down and shouted in unison. Wang Xian went over to the Clam Girl. Clam Girl opened her shell slowly and revealed her human form. She immediately greeted him. Wang Xian nodded his head before devouring the marine animals in the sea. Bohai Sea is too shallow. The variety of fish is too limited. After devouring a small shark, Wang Xian sighed emotionally. Currently, he was about 80 kilometers from land. However, the seas were only about 18 meters deep. There were barely any schools of fish around. As compared to the other sea regions where the depth of water could reach over 1,000 meters, Bohai Sea was too shallow. If he wished to increase his level, Bohai Sea would be hard to satisfy his desire. To increase my level, it would be more effective to look for higher-level marine animals. Higher level. Wang Xian pondered. Suddenly, a place appeared in his mind. Dahai Lake. There was a rumor about a huge sea monster in Dahai Lake 4 years ago. Some people reported seeing a huge sea monster that resembled a grinding disc. It had a huge oval-shaped body. Some people caught it in a photograph where one could vaguely see a monster larger than boats surfacing from the water. However, as the distance was too far, some said that it wasn't a sea monster but just some reflections. There were also people speculating that it should be some giant sharks or similar marine animals that had swam into Dahai Lake. Everyone had their own explanations, and this even attracted a group of researchers. They conducted a search of the entire Dahai Lake, but didn't detect any ginormous animal. Therefore, this ended without a conclusive answer. However, the rumors of a sea monster in Dahai Lake didn't just stop there. There were still people claiming to encounter the sea monster from time to time. However, none had concrete evidence, and no one had seen how the sea monster really looks. Old Xian and Old Shui talked about the sea monster of Dahai Lake today. In that case, there might really be a powerful sea monster. Wang Xian thought. Based on his impression, he swam quickly towards where Dahai Lake was located. Dahai Lake was connected to the Bohai Sea. However, since it was deep between the lands, many simply referred to it as Dahai Lake. Dahai Lake covered an area of approximately 20 kilometers. After passing through an entrance of over 100 meters in length and 40 to 50 meters in breadth, Wang Xian entered Dahai Lake. Who would have expected Dahai Lake to be deeper than Bohai Sea? It's at least 20 meters deep here. Wang Xian was slightly shocked. The waters of Dahai Lake were a little murky. Moving his body, he dove in directly. The dragon energy I needed for cultivation is too high now. Ordinary fish don't provide sufficient dragon energy. If there are higher-level marine animals, my cultivation speed would also be quicker. Wang Xian thought. Swaying his tail, he swam towards the middle. The distance of 20 kilometers wasn't far from Wang Xian. He swam to the middle and started observing the surroundings. There were few marine animals around. This was a little strange for a lake so huge. A golden light shot out from Wang Xian's eyes as he looked at the surroundings carefully. He swam in the vicinity while searching, but couldn't find anything unusual. How can there be nothing? If it is like what the people on the internet have said, the sea monster should be at least 10 meters long. I should be able to find it. Wang Xian's eyebrows knitted together, but he continued swaying his tail slowly. Growl! A dragon roar resounded in the Dahai Lake. Wang Xian released all his aura to announce his arrival at Dahai Lake. The current Wang Xian could spread his dragon power to cover a radius of 2 kilometers. All the marine animals within the area were shivering and didn't dare to budge an inch. The water of Dahai Lake was ravaged without cause. Growl! Wang Xian swam to another person and let out another roar. His dragon roar resounded throughout the entire Dahai Lake. Swish! At this moment, Wang Xian could sense something to his back. He immediately turned over and stared at the bottom of the lake. Indeed, the sea monster truly exists. Wang Xian looked forward and in the direction he was facing. A huge animal was floating up gradually. It seemed to have been lying on the bottom of the water with its entire body sunk into the mud. As he floated upwards slowly, the mud on his body slowly fell off. The image of the giant shell became clearer and clearer to Wang Xian. On the shell, there were small sharp edges that looked like it was made from mud. So big, so big. At the front of the large shell that spanned at least 10 meters, a head slowly extended out. His head was black and had sharp edges on it. Although its eyes were black, it had a glow that could be seen through the water in the middle of the night. Roar! Who are you? He opened his mouth and let out a roar, showing creepy-looking teeth. He looked directly at Wang Xian. It has intelligence. When Wang Xian heard this dinosaur-like turtle's growl, he was slightly shocked. Spiritual Turtle, Level 10. Extractable Dragon Energy, 123,272. A Level 10 Spiritual Turtle? That's equivalent to an inborn realm expert. Wang Xian was shocked and his eyes lit up with excitement as he stared at this spiritual turtle. Chapter 97, Prime Minister Turtle 2. I am the Dragon King, the world's only true dragon. Wang Xian slightly lifted his head and stared at the spiritual turtle. Succumb to me, or you'll get devoured by me. Succumb? I'm the turtle ancestor. You're just a mere dragon king, and you have the cheek to ask me to succumb to you? Ignorant. The spiritual turtle had a high intelligence as he stared coldly at Wang Xian with a tilting head. His eyes had a disdainful look in them. Even though he could sense the domineering strength from the odd creature in front of him, he was not afraid as his physical size was larger than it. Besides, he had lived for thousands of years. As the ancestor of the turtles, how could he succumb to anyone? Turtle ancestor? Wang Xian was a little stunned when he heard the spiritual turtle calling himself the turtle ancestor. It was unexpected for him to encounter a cocky spiritual turtle. If that's the case, you're choosing the second alternative. Wang Xian swung his tail gently as he gazed at the gigantic spiritual turtle. Courting your own death. Since you interrupted my sleep, I'll eat you up. The spiritual turtle opened his mouth wide as he attacked Wang Xian without any fear. He shook his body, and the mud around the area spread out. The entire region turned murky, and the visibility dropped. Earth control? Once again, Wang Xian displayed a surprised look when he saw the fluctuation in the surrounding earth. This was the most formidable marine animal that he had ever encountered. Not only did the creature have intelligence, it even had superpower. I know Earth control too. Wang Xian displayed a cold smile on his face. He slightly wriggled his body, and the soil in the murky sea was filtered from the water. The soil then gathered and formed into a ball of dirt. When the surrounding water was cleared, Wang Xian saw the spiritual turtle, which had swum to a location within 5 meters away from him. A smirk surfaced on his face. Earthy Thorn. Earthy Thorn was a simple technique in his earth control arts. The current Wang Xian was still too weak, and he had yet to master his control of the 5 elements. If he grew stronger, he could control all the surrounding earth and bury everything around it. You can control the earth too? The spiritual turtle was taken aback when he saw the incoming earthy thorn. However, there was no fear in him as he lowered his head slowly. Bam! The earthy thorn landed on the durable shell of the spiritual turtle, leaving no trace on it. Go to hell. The spiritual turtle suddenly accelerated as he opened his enormous mouth to bite Wang Xian. Upon seeing the dense and sharp teeth in his mouth, Wang Xian knew that he could bite off a piece of meat from him if he were caught in it. Go and die. Wang Xian looked at the spiritual turtle with a disdainful look in his eyes. Even though he was only level 6, he had no fear when confronted by creatures who were of inborn levels. As a 5 elements divine dragon, level 10 marine animals could not pose any threat to him. Metal counters wood, wood counters earth, earth counters fire, and fire counters metal. The 5 elements reinforce and counteract each other. The colors on Wang Xian's body changed and turned green eventually. The Azure Dragon with wood attribution can counteract all earth in the world. Wang Xian stretched out his dragon claws with thistles and thorns slithering and twining themselves around the mouth of the spiritual turtle. Roar! Wang Xian let out a dragon roar while exhaling a gush of green breath. As the green breath hit the aquatic plants in the surrounding area, the plants began to shoot up frantically. The water plants entangled themselves to form ropes. They slid towards the spiritual turtle and entwined the spiritual turtle. In an instant, the spiritual turtle was trapped within the woody field which spanned across a radius of 20 meters. Such a powerful 5 elements reinforcement. Looking at the woody field that he created, Wang Xian was rather surprised. When he was in the human form, he was 5 times weaker than he was in dragon form. Hence, he was unable to create such a powerful woody field. Moreover, he was unable to interchange the 5 elements when he was in human form. Hence, he was even weaker, and his combat skill would be weaker by 10 folds. Let me go, let me go. The spiritual turtle struggled violently, but he realized that the seaweed around him was not giving way except to tighten its grip on him. Besides, the counteract of the 5 elements made it even more difficult for the spiritual turtle, with a heavy body, to break free. Turtle meat makes a great tonic. Heh, I'll chop off your limbs and barbecue them. Then, I'll cook your head for the soup. Hee hee. Oh no, the head cannot be used for the soup. I'll throw it away. Heh. Wang Xian revealed his creepy teeth as he observed the turtle with a thought in his mind. I'll surrender to you. Don't kill me. Spare my life, great king. The spiritual turtle hid his head in his gigantic shell with eyes full of fear as he pleaded. Just now, I asked you to surrender to me. You refused. Now, you're surrendering to me because you can't win against me? Wang Xian stared coldly. Great king, I'll give all the treasures that I've collected to you. Please spare my life, said the spiritual turtle hurriedly. Treasures? What treasures? Wang Xian quickly asked with eyes brightened up. I'll get them for you. But please, don't kill me. Fine, don't think of running away. I can easily kill you. Wang Xian nodded. He was not afraid that the spiritual turtle would escape. With a thought, the surrounding seaweed retracted rapidly and turned into ordinary seaweed again. With a pair of wary eyes, the spiritual turtle looked at Wang Xian before he swam to the back. Wang Xian followed him and came to the place where he'd been just now. Ka. The spiritual turtle came to the place where he'd been and manipulated the earth below him. As he did that, individual items began to surface and float up. What are all these things? Wang Xian looked at the floating things that resembled turtle shells with shock. Trophies, king. These are my trophies. Those little turtles who fought with me were all killed by me. These are their shells. The spiritual turtle shifted his gigantic body as he spoke. Pervert. Wang Xian looked at the pile of turtle shells beside him and blew his dragon beard. Among these turtle shells, there was one that was about 5 meters in size. It must have been a formidable one before it was slaughtered by this spiritual turtle, unfortunately. King, I'm formidable, the spiritual turtle said proudly. Fine, I have no interest in your trophies. Swallow this blood essence and do not think of resisting. Wang Xian moved his claw, and a drop of dragon blood entered the spiritual turtle's mouth. The dragon blood was no longer gold in color. Instead, it was 5 different colors. The spiritual turtle closed his eyes without putting up any resistance. It's done. From now on, you'll be the Prime Minister Turtle of the Dragon Palace. The moment Wang Xian spotted such an enormous spiritual turtle, he had already made up his mind. The Dragon Palace needed a Prime Minister Turtle. Ding. You've subdued 3 marine animals and fulfilled the criteria for constructing the Dragon Palace. Level 1 Dragon Palace can be established deep in the seabed with resistance to floods and fires. It will form a region of its own. The required materials to build one: 100 tons of gold, 100,000 tons of silver, 1 million of brass, 10,000 of refined iron, 1 million of coral reef, 1 ton each for gemstones with 5 different colors, and 1 ton of spiritual stones. At this moment, the system notification sounded off, which made him freeze. He seldom heard the system notification apart from the beginning where he had just become a dragon. Now, the system actually prompted him about the Dragon Palace. Initially, Wang Xian thought he needed to build his Dragon Palace by mastering the Divine Dragon transformation. Never did he expect that the system was building it for him. Surprise. Chapter 98. Wang Dahai. It seems like the system still has a lot of functions that aren't unlocked and only would be when I've reached a certain level. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. Name: Wang Xian. Race: 5 elements Divine Dragon, able to transform into a human. Level: 6. Dragon Energy: 563, 421/100, 000,000. Superpower: Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals, for extraction of dragon energy. 5 elements control, Art of Cultivation, Divine Dragon Transformation, Level 1 Dragon Palace, Not Built, Required Materials, 0/100. Dragon Palace Subordinates, Turtle Race, 1. Clam Race, 1. Lobster Race, 1. It has changed. My personal information has changed. There are additional line items of Dragon Palace and Dragon Palace Subordinates. Divine dragons exist in this universe. However, I'm not just an ordinary divine dragon, but also possess a godlike divine dragon system. The cultivation of divine dragons couldn't extract divine energy by devouring marine animals. Instead, they have to cultivate diligently. As for me, due to the system, I could make use of the system to convert them directly into dragon energy. As compared to the divine dragon race, there's a huge difference. Similarly, I could build the strongest dragon palace directly through the system. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. Divine dragon system was relatively more unique. It couldn't make one become an unparalleled divine dragon directly, and required that he take one step at a time. The focus of invincible divine dragon cultivation system was in cultivation. Only by going through each step could he become an invincible divine dragon. One should know that the strongest races of the universe weren't just the dragon race. However, he could make use of the system to become an invincible existence. But Wang Xian had a million thoughts running in his mind. In the end, he had a bitter look on his face and couldn't help but curse. Isn't the material required to build the dragon palace a little too much? Disregarding others, just 100 tons of gold would be an astronomical sum. 100 tons of gold would be 100 million grams. Taking the price of gold to be $330 per gram, he would need $33 billion. The $33 billion was even before he considered other materials. The total sum required to build a dragon palace would be astronomical. Wang Xian's expression darkened. He couldn't even take out 100 million currently, let alone $30 billion. Poor. I'm still too poor. Wang Xian pulled a long face and took a deep breath. This is forcing me to rule the world so as to look for the resources. Forget it. I might not need to rule the world, but I do need to earn some money. Once I have the money, the gold and other materials could be bought. It is just that spiritual stone wouldn't be easy to get. Spiritual stone was a condensed form of pure energy. However, he hadn't seen one previously. Therefore, it was most likely very valuable. Wang Xian shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He wanted to take this step by step, as it hadn't even been a month since he became a divine dragon. The money would come, and so would the dragon palace. King. At this moment, the spiritual turtle disrupted Wang Xian's thoughts. Wang Xian looked at the spiritual turtle. The spiritual turtle was drastically different from when he first saw it. Its shell looked a little sturdier and wasn't like the ground beetle previously. It even looked rather majestic. Not bad, not bad. I'll call you Prime Minister Turtle in the future. Don't address me as king. Call me Dragon King. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle thanks Dragon King for the name. Sure, sure. Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Turtle with satisfaction. Although its current appearance wasn't great, it was highly intelligent. A Prime Minister Turtle that doesn't know how to bootlick isn't a good Prime Minister Turtle. Why don't you head into the seas? Why do you choose to stay in this lake? Wang Xian asked peculiarly. It's more comfortable here, and I won't be disturbed. Prime Minister Turtle answered honestly. All right. Wang Xian was a little speechless. Waving his arm, the Earth Dragon cultivation arts of the Divine Dragon transformation was imprinted in his mind. Cultivate diligently here. I'll make my move now. After finishing his words, Wang Xian headed out immediately. Time flew past quickly, and he had to return. He had a fruitful night. Not only did he manage to subdue a Prime Minister Turtle, but he had also gotten an idea of the process of building his dragon palace. However, no one would have imagined that the sea monster of Dahai Lake was actually a large and horrifying turtle that spanned over 10 meters. When he arrived at school from the seaside, it was already past 9 a.m. Just as he stepped into the dormitory room, a rough voice sounded. What the? Old Wang, you are finally back. I called you so many times, but you didn't pick up. Come, Accompany me to buy some clothes today. Wang Xian lifted his head and immediately saw a fat head extending out of the bed. Dahai, why are you so early? What a rare occasion. Wang Dahai had the same surname as him and was a year older than Wang Xian. He weighed around 190 caddies. He had all the strengths of a fatty, such as being honest, upright, and conservative on the outside, but passionate on the inside. He was the closest friend Wang Xian had in the dormitory. Wang Dahai was a local of Rivertown. Typically, he wouldn't report to school before school started. It would seem that he had arrived the previous day and was acting a little strange. I have something in mind, Wang Dahai chuckled. Looking at his horny look, it must be related to a girl. Old Wang, I'll get up right now. Accompany me to buy some clothes. Wang Dahai stood up as he spoke. Speaking of Wang Xian's nickname, Old Wang, there was a meaning behind it. The story was from the beginning of freshman year. At that time, there was a guy from the opposite dormitory block who liked a girl from their class. However, that girl was more interested in Wang Xian. After that guy confessed and got rejected, Wang Xian got another nickname, Old Wang, the neighbor, or in short, Old Wang, when almost everyone in the dormitory addressed him as such. Buy clothes? I have to accompany my sister today. My sister has arrived. Wang Xian chuckled. Your sister, Xiaoyu, has arrived? Wang Dahai was a little surprised. Why don't we ask your sister, Xiaoyu, along? Let me ask her about it. Wang Xian didn't reject the suggestion. Wang Dahai was a great guy and had been taking good care of him. He had treated Wang Xian to multiple meals and even lent Wang Xian his motorcycle over the summer holidays. After getting Wang Xian's call, Xiaoyu replied, Brother, I'm going to take a look at the school clubs with Xiaomi, Yuan, and Su Qian. I guess I won't be going. Wang Xian nodded his hand. All right, have fun. I'll accompany my roommate to get some stuff. Give me a moment to wash up. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, Wang Dahai immediately jumped up and started washing up. Where are we going to get clothes? Wang Xian asked. City center. Why do you want to go to the city center to get clothes? Can't you just get them from the shops beside the school? Oh right, you haven't told me why you arrived at school so early? Wang Xian looked at Wang Dahai. Hee. Wang Dahai chuckled. He stuck his head out of the washroom and said, Let me bring you to have some fun tonight. You got a date? Is she from our school? Wang Xian asked in shock. She's a senior. Hee. It was initially last night, but she went out with her roommates for dinner. Therefore, it was postponed to tonight. Old Wang, you were lucky. Damn, why does it feel like you've gotten more handsome since the last time I saw you a month ago? If only you were a little uglier. You would then be able to show how tall and mighty I am. Sigh. It's okay. Who asked me to be so kind? She said she would be bringing her roommates along. Perhaps they might find you handsome and have a relationship that lasts for a single night with you. Chapter 99. Brother Xian. Brother Xian. As Wang Dahai nagged, Wang Xian gave a funny look. After bathing, Wang Dahai changed his clothes and made a few poses in front of the mirror. Not bad. Even though I'm slightly plump, my features are perfect, giving off a sense of security. Wang Dahai looked into the mirror as he was satisfied with his look. Will this work this time? Don't get disappointed again. Wang Xian looked at him and chuckled. Wang Dahai had an experience of dating a girl from the internet. In the end, the petite girl left after seeing him. There's hope this time, I'm sure. Wang Dahai's eyes brightened up. I met this girl before, so I'm not afraid that she will run away after she sees me. All right, let's go. Wang Xian laughed as he went down with Wang Dahai. Give me the keys. I'll drive you. Wang Dahai told Wang Xian. Your motorcycle was damaged by me, so I bought another one. Wang Xian smiled and said, Damaged? Wang Dahai was stunned and shouted at him, If you've damaged it, just let it be. Why do you still have to buy another one? Look, you should have told me earlier. I have two at home. Why did you have to buy one? Wang Xian felt warm in his heart. Wang Dahai said these things because he knew about his family situation. Wang Dahai's family was SOSO, and was considered to be middle class. They were not of high status, but neither were they poor. With a sum of $3,000 monthly allowance, it was considered an average amount. Let's go. I'll show you a new bike. Wang Xian arched his lips slightly as he brought him to the back of the dormitory. Wow, Harley. It's the Harley motorcycle. This is my dream heavy-duty motorcycle. I'll get one when I'm rich. Wang Dahai brightened his eyes as he stared at the Harley motorcycle with an envious look as soon as he was at the back. With a face full of smiles, Wang Xian took the keys and walked up. Do you want to try? Sigh, I can only look at it. This Harley costs at least a few $100,000. I wonder who the rich guy is who put it here. Envy. If tonight? Wang Dahai was talking with a face full of regrets. However, his face stiffened up as he spoke. He saw Wang Xian take out the key, unlock the bike, and push it out. Gosh. Old Wang. Brother Xian. This. Wang Dahai looked at Wang Xian with astonished expressions. What's the matter? Look at my dressing. Don't I deserve this bike? Wang Xian smiled and pointed to his clothes as he put on the flashy sunglasses kept in the motorcycle. Givenchy's clothes. It's authentic. Old Wang, did you win some lottery? Wang Dahai had just noticed the brand on Wang Xian's clothes. He jumped immediately, shocked. There is one thing that I have never told you. I'm actually an affluent second generation in disguise. I can inherit the family's assets now since I've turned 20. Wang Xian joked with a smiling face. Really? Didn't you have only one sister? Wang Dahai seemed to buy his words as he looked at him. Let's go. You just have to know that I'm not a pauper anymore. Wang Xian beckoned him and asked him to sit at the back seat. Gosh, this is so cool. Wang Dahai rubbed his palms together as he got excited. Can I try it too? You can ride around the school, but you can forget about riding it in the city center. You don't have a license. That's true, but you got to let me enjoy it during the normal days. Get lost. Enjoy my ass. Brother Xian, you'll be the big brother from now on. I'm Xiaohai. Wang Xian started the engine and rode to the city center with Wang Dahai. As soon as Wang Dahai entered the mall, he began to shop. The reserved Wang Dahai even bought a pair of golden rimless glasses. What a flashy look. Wang Xian looked at him speechlessly. Looks like you really took a fancy to the girl tonight. She's the true love of my life. Brother Xian, tonight is the night. Wang Dahai patted Wang Xian on his shoulder. It's still early now. Where are we going? Wang Xian looked at the time. Let's go back. I want to dress myself up, then recharge myself in an internet cafe. Wang Dahai was full of fighting spirit. Wang Xian followed Wang Dahai back to the dormitory helplessly. After they rested for a while, they came to the internet cafe. In the evening, Wang Dahai called the girl, but the girl asked him to wait. Wang Xian asked if the other party would stand him up tonight. Wang Dahai patted his chest and said she would never do that. In fact, the later they met, the better. Wang Xian could not figure out his train of thought, but when it was 8 p.m., the girl called him. Let's meet at the school entrance. Let's go. Haha. 8 p.m. Let's have fun tonight. Wang Dahai had shiny hair with exhilarating expressions all over his face. It's so late. Where are we going at such an hour? Asked Wang Xian speechlessly. The pub, of course. Wang Dahai raised his eyebrows. Let's go. We'll take the Harley motorcycle, and the remaining 3 ladies can take a cab. All right, let's go. As Wang Xian arrived at the entrance with Wang Dahai on the bike, the 3 trendy-looking girls were standing there. The 3 girls were all in miniskirts. One of them even wore a pair of black stockings. Temptations in the air. Rong, this is my roommate, Wang Xian. We're heading to the place on our bike. The 3 of you will share a cab. Is that okay? He spoke with a smile. As soon as Wang Dahai saw them, he hopped off the bike before he came to a girl whose face was round. Sure, then I'll see you at the pub. Sure, I'll get you a cab before we leave, said Wang Dahai with smiles all over his face as he acted like a gentleman. The other 2 girls next to them observed Wang Dahai before they turned and looked at Wang Xian, who was on the bike. It's here. 3 beautiful ladies, you may leave first. We'll wait for you at the entrance. As soon as the cab arrived, Wang Dahai spoke with a smile. Sure, we'll meet you at the pub entrance. The girl named Rongrong waved to him as she sat inside. Rongrong, is he Wang Dahai? He's fat, but his roommate is quite handsome. Yes, that's him. I turned him down yesterday, but he kept pestering me to hang out with him. Since we've got nothing going on today, let's go out and get high. Then let's enjoy ourselves today. I saw them riding the Harley motorcycle. They should be quite loaded. Let's have a feast today. I'm telling all of you in advance. Don't get yourselves drunk like the other day. No, we won't. That roommate of his is handsome. Do you want to seduce him later on? Damn you. I've got a boyfriend. The girls were laughing and chatting in the cab. Charge. My life happiness depends on today. Wang Dahai sat on the bike and yelled at Wang Xian excitedly. Fine, for your happiness. Charge. Chapter 100, Love Bar. Love Bar was a bar on a street of Rivertown that was relatively more well-known, relatively well-received, and had a relatively better atmosphere. Wang Xian and Wang Dahai reached the entrance of the bar before the girls. Wang Dahai waited by the side anxiously. Why are you so excited? You look just like a bull that's in heat. Looking at Wang Dahai, Wang Xian found it hilarious. You wouldn't understand. This is true love. If you encounter the girl you really like, you would be the same as me. Rongrong is the cutest girl I've ever seen. I definitely want her to be my girlfriend. Wang Dahai spoke resolutely. Wang Xian was taken aback. This was still the first time he had seen Wang Dahai being so serious about chasing after a girl. He patted him on the shoulder and encouraged, all the best. She's here. She's here. Wang Dahai saw them walk out from a rented car and quickly went up to receive them. When Rongrong saw Wang Dahai, she spoke with a smile. Let's go. We can reserve a table for the 5 of us to chat and drink. Sure, let's go in. Wang Dahai nodded his head, and the group of 5 walked towards the bar. Once they entered the bar, deafening music overwhelmed their ears. Wang Xian's eyebrows knitted together. This was the first time he'd visited a bar and wasn't used to such an atmosphere. Looking towards the dancing platform, he saw a group of young men and women fooling around. Some were even grinding on each other. Under the faint and shimmering lights, there was a sense of vileness filling the atmosphere. Wang Xian looked at Wang Dahai and noticed that he was also frowning. The 3 girls seemed to be familiar with the place as they walked towards a long table. Immediately, the waiter walked over. Girls, which set meal would you like to have? The waiter asked as he handed over a price list to the 3 girls. Rongrong took a look at the price list before ordering. The $1,888 set meal. Besides that, we want 2 bottles of Chivas Regal. All right, please wait a moment. Wang Dahai and Wang Xian sat down. When he saw the prices on the price list, he frowned. Dahai, a $1,888 set meal with 2 bottles of Chivas Regal of $400. That's already more than $2,600. $2,600? Wang Dahai put aside the price list and whispered, Old Wang, since I'm here, I've made preparations. If I don't spend this, how could I get the girl? All right then, all the best. Wang Xian smiled and patted his shoulders. Come, Rongrong. I had not expected your roommates to all be so beautiful. Wang Dahai quickly started flirting. As for Wang Xian, he simply sat quietly and observed. The waiter quickly brought over the alcohol, fruits, and nuts. Wang Xian took a bottle of alcohol and poured some for himself. After trying a mouthful, he put it down. Fake alcohol. Handsome, are you from the same class as Wang Dahai? Just as Wang Xian was feeling bored and looking around, a girl sat beside him. The girl had a good figure, but her face was a little long. She gave off a vixen vibe and could be considered as good-looking overall. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded his head before looking toward Wang Dahai. Hey pretty, do you think Dahai has a chance with Rongrong? This? The girl thought for a while before continuing. I'll tell you if you finish 2 more cups. All right. Wang Xian shrugged his shoulders helplessly and gulped down 2 cups of alcohol. I believe you can tell me now? I don't know about it. Haha. If Wang Dahai works hard, he might have a chance. Wang Xian was speechless upon hearing her reply. It was equivalent to not saying anything. Come handsome, let's have a toast. That girl leaned over and had half of her body on Wang Xian. At this moment, Wang Xian could even smell her perfume. Wang Xian frowned. I'm not good with alcohol. Just have a little. Oh right, handsome. Do you have a girlfriend? The girl asked directly. Yeah. Wang Xian hesitated for a while. I do. Huh. You have a girlfriend? Do you mind changing one? The girl looked at him with her pair of large eyes and even blinked flirtatiously at him. Looking at the girl, Wang Xian felt as though he was a weak little lamb. The other party had ample experiences with flirting. Although Wang Xian was being picked up by the girl, he wasn't feeling happy at all. The girl in front of him couldn't be compared with Guan Shuqing or Lan Qingyu at all. She was just like a prostitute to Wang Xian. Shameless and revealing. Wang Xian wasn't too interested in continuing chatting, and simply said a few perfunctory words in response. That girl saw how Wang Xian acted and started frowning. Contempt flashed in her eyes, and she went back to her previous seat beside the other girl directly. At about 10 p.m., Wang Dahai said to Wang Xian, Let's go to the bathroom, old Wang. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head and followed him to the bathroom. The girls behind them took a look at them, but soon went back to playing among themselves. How was it? Entering the washroom, Wang Xian glanced at Wang Dahai and asked. This? Wang Dahai frowned. Rongrong is pretty good, but, doesn't feel like a student and was very open? Wang Xian hesitated for a moment and added. Yeah. Wang Dahai didn't know how to describe it and simply nodded his head. For a female university student to be so open in such a place, it was clear that she was a frequent patron. This made Wang Dahai, who was a little chauvinistic, a little uncomfortable. That's how I felt too. Dahai, you've got to think about it. I know. Let's see how it goes. It was very comfortable to chat with her, Wang Dahai replied after thinking for a moment. Wang Dahai took out a cigarette to smoke. After he was done, he signaled to Wang Xian to return. The two of them walked towards their seats. There were a lot more people at the bar than when they had arrived. This was natural, as the nightlife had just started after 10 p.m. To their surprise, they saw 4 other men when they were back at their seats. These 4 young men were sitting in their seats and chatting happily with the 3 girls. On the table, there were 5 bottles of imported wine and over 20 bottles of beer. Wang Xian and Wang Dahai exchanged gazes before finding another place to sit. Come Dahai, let me introduce them to you. This is Lingling's boyfriend and our friends. We happened to bump into them, so I asked them over. It's livelier with more people. Rongrong moved towards Wang Dahai and spoke to him with smiles. Rongrong, is this the handsome guy who is wooing you? He's not as handsome as me. A young man beside Rongrong took a glance at Wang Dahai and chuckled. You are handsome? Rongrong rolled her eyes at him. Am I not? The young man leaned over towards Rongrong. Scram, get further away from me. Rongrong stretched over to whack him. Don't. Seeing the two of them flirting with each other, Wang Dahai's eyebrows twitched and wasn't looking well. Dahai, shall we go? Wang Xian saw everything. He moved towards Wang Dahai and spoke softly. All right. Wang Dahai took a deep breath and forced out a smile. He looked at Rongrong and said, Rongrong, I'm sorry. We just received a call and have something urgent to attend to. We will be going off now. Rongrong frowned upon hearing Wang Dahai. However, she immediately remarked, in that case, get the bill before you go. All right. Wang Dahai nodded his head unwillingly. He shouted to the waiter at the corner, Waiter, bill please. All right, sir. A waiter walked over. Your total bill. Wait a minute. Get us 2 more cartons of beer and 2 bottles of whiskey. At this moment, one of the young men interrupted. All right, sir. The waiter nodded his head. After recalculating, he continued, adding those that this Mr. ordered, Your total bill is $9,380. What? $9,380. Wang Dahai was shocked and looked at the water in disbelief. Chapter 101. Fight. Yes, cert $9,308. This is your receipt. You may check. The waiter nodded and passed him the receipt. Wang Dahai took the receipt with an embarrassed look. When they started to drink, the cover and a few drinks had cost just more than $2,000. Even after a second round of drinks ordered, he calculated that it would only add up to not more than $4,000. How did it end up at $9,308? But when he looked at the drinks that were ordered while they were away in the bathroom, Wang Dahai darkened his expression. 5 bottles of alcohol that cost more than $4,000. On top of that, those fruit and snack platters they ordered added up to the $9,308. The price was clearly stated, and the pub was not at fault. Wang Xian looked at the bill and darkened his expression. Wang Dahai did not have over $9,000 with him. His family was well off, but not to the extent of getting more than $10,000 for his monthly allowances. $9,000 was peanuts to Wang Xian. He could pay without batting his eyes. But he was unhappy with what the 3 girls did. They probably treated Wang Dahai as someone who could be bullied by his generosity. It is right to treat and pay for the 3 of you, but your friends tagged along. What does that mean? Wang Xian looked at Wang Dahai, who was looking embarrassed. Wang Dahai was a person who did not want to shame himself. He could not bring himself to say something as he would rather not disgrace himself. More than $9,000? Wang Xian took over the bill and put it on the table. He told the waiter, "When we were here, we only ordered drinks that cost about $2,600. We'll pay for that. We did not order the rest." This? The waiter looked at Wang Xian. "So who will pay for the rest?" "You'll have to ask them that. We are only paying for what we drank." Wang Xian said nonchalantly. Her. 3 girls and 4 young men looked over at Wang Xian. "What? You want us to pay?" The girl who seduced Wang Xian just now frowned at them and asked. "The drinks and fruits that we treated the 3 of you to will be paid for by us. The ones that you treated your friends to should be paid for by you guys." Wang Xian stared at the girl and said, "What? What do you mean by this?" Upon hearing what Wang Xian said, Rong stood up angrily and glared at Wang Dahai. "Wang Dahai, what do you mean by this? You asked us out to the pub, and now you want us to pay for ourselves?" On hearing Rong's question, Wang Dahai's expression was even more awful than before. He gritted his teeth, lifted his chin, and stared at Rong. "I'll treat you to your drinks, but not your friends. Besides, you guys just ordered the drinks that amount to $9,000 while we were in the bathroom. Do you think I'm a fathead?" Wang Dahai had finally seen the true colors of Rong, so he spoke without giving her any face. "Fathead?" Rong jeered at him. "Hey, you were the one who asked us out. Now you think we've ordered too much, and you refuse to pay for it. Do you count yourself as a man? If you don't have that kind of money, don't woo any girls. $9,000 is considered expensive? Then why are you here?" A girl next to Rong criticized with a sharp remark. "That's right, you 2 paupers. If you had said that you're broke, we would not have come out with you. Now you refuse to foot the bill. Are you a man? How dare you ask people out when you're acting this way? Aren't you a joke?" The 3 girls took turns to mock him as they looked at him disdainfully. Upon hearing their remarks, coldness flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. He looked at Wang Dahai, who was quivering, and took a step forward. "We're buying drinks for the 3 of you, not your friends. So, you need to bring your friends along to get the treats? Don't they have money?" "Hey, lad, what do you mean by this? Are you saying that we are so broke that we have to get free drinks from you?" A young man rolled up his sleeves as he stood up. He stared coldly at Wang Xian when he heard what he said. "If you have the money, how about paying for what you've ordered?" Wang Xian stared at the young man and said emotionlessly, "We'll pay for the beginning round of drinks. You can pay for the rest that you've ordered." I finally got it. Both of you are just too broke, and you guys are finding excuses to leave. If you're broke, why did you ask us out? How funny. Guys like you actually want to woo girls. What a dumbass. A girl scorned Wang Dahai and Wang Xian. Wang Dahai, I never expected you to be someone like this. Guys like you should be made known in the school forum. Let everyone witness what a pauper you are. You're broke, and you acted tough by asking us out? I bet you borrowed that motorcycle of yours from someone else. Rongrong said to Wang Dahai coldly. You? Wang Dahai stared at Rongrong, who was unkind with her words, with his eyes red. We were blind as we thought you were just ordinary students. Never did I expect that. Hee hee. Wang Xian scoffed and continued. We'll pay for the starting orders. Those that you added on, you'll pay for yourself. Waiter, we'll pay $3,000. The rest you can get from them. We didn't order that. The waiter frowned as he looked at the girls and the 4 young men. Hey, what do you mean by that? Rongrong pointed at Wang Xian and asked furiously. Am I not being obvious enough? Whoever ordered the drinks pays for them, Wang Xian said coldly. Pauper, you're penniless and yet you tried to woo a girl. You're a thrash, the young man said to Wang Xian in a cold tone. Wang Xian sneered. Since you're not a thrash, you can pay for it. Damn you, I have the money. The young man took his wallet from his pocket and slammed it on the table. But I don't like what I see. I'll not pay for the bill. You guys are leaving without paying after you asked the girls out? I have the money too, but I'm not spending it on thrashes. Wang Xian put his foot on the table as he swept his gaze across the 3 girls. Eventually, he stopped at the young man and spoke coldly. Damn, are you seeking trouble? Fuck you. Didn't you find out who I am? I can beat the shit out of you guys. Fuck, you're arrogant. Let me tell you this. Today, you're paying it whether you like it or not. Otherwise, I'll make sure you guys can't walk out of the door. 2 jerks are running away without paying after asking us out? Upon seeing the conceited look of Wang Xian, the young men and girls stood up and glared at him. One of the young men even removed his shirt, revealing his vest. The areas that the vest could not conceal were filled with tattoos. Fine. Wang Xian wet his dry lips. He picked up an unopened bottle of wine from the table and smashed it at the middle young man. Bam! Chapter 102. A Man Stopping 10,000 Men. Arg! A blood-curdling scream propagated throughout the bar and even overwhelmed the deafening music. Tragic, really tragic. The whole bottle of alcohol smashed into the head of a man, making him bleed profusely immediately. The other 3 young men and girls were stunned. They looked at their companion, whose head was bleeding profusely, in disbelief. Damn it! How dare you start the fight? That young man with tattoos behind his back looked viciously at Wang Xian and growled angrily. Start the fight? Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at this young man and grabbed another bottle of beer from the table. He did not make use of his great strength and did not bother to talk to them. This was because this group of people wouldn't require him to use his full strength. Moreover, he did not like to talk while fighting. Scumbags! You guys are too much. Seeing that Wang Xian had started the fight, Wang Dahai, who was standing behind Wang Xian, was initially hesitant. He clenched his fist tightly before grabbing another bottle of beer. His brother had already started the fight for his sake. How could he possibly just stand there and watch? What kind of brother would he be if he just stood by? The other few young men found it hard to accept, as they had never expected these 2 young men to start the fight the moment they couldn't agree on things. Furthermore, they were so ruthless. The moment Wang Xian saw Wang Dahai readying himself, he revealed a smile. That's how a brother should be. They should fight together, carry guns together, sleep together, and visit prostitutes together. Fuck. Bastards. Don't think I'm afraid of you. The other 3 young men were looking hideous and immediately charged towards Wang Dahai and Wang Xian. However, there was no way their power and strength could be compared with Wang Xian. Bam bam. The 2 bottles of beer landed on 2 other people. As for Wang Dahai, he was 1.8 meters tall and weighed over 190 caddies. Most people wouldn't be a match for him. Therefore, the 3 young men were put to the ground easily. They must be eager to die. How dare they touch us? A young man held onto his head and looked menacing. You guys! How dare you guys cause trouble here? Rong shrieked and pointed to Wang Xian and Wang Dahai. Her face had turned as white as a sheet. Gerg, fight! Don't stop! Can't even defeat two when there are four of you? Trash! Get up and fight! The crowd in the bar noticed the fight and started cheering loudly. They were here for fun, and it was better for them when the bar was livelier. Weak and fragile. Wang Xian looked coldly at the four young men struggling to get up. He grabbed another bottle and taunted, Come, let's continue. How dare you? You're going to die. The tattooed young man, whose head was covered in blood, stared at Wang Xian. He was seething with anger. If you can walk out of Love Bar tonight, I wouldn't be able to show myself here in the future. What's the matter? Who's fighting? Who's fighting? Get out if you want to fight. At this moment, 5 to 6 security guards of the bar rushed over and shouted loudly. Fuck. Wait here if you dare. Although the tattooed young man saw the security guards rushing over, he showed no fear and roared loudly. What's the matter? Still want to fight? When the middle-aged security guard heard him, he frowned and walked over. If I don't cripple these two brats, my name wouldn't be Fifth Master Gong. The young man with the tattoo took his phone, ignored the security guard, and dialed a number. The group of security guards frowned as they turned their attention to this young man with tattoos. Boss, it's me, Fifth Master Gong. One of the security guards was shocked and murmured to the middle-aged man beside him. Fifth Master Gong, if you're causing trouble, please get out. Don't do it in the Love Bar. The middle-aged security said to the young man with tattoos, I'll leave after crippling these two brats. They dare to touch me? I'll kill them. Fifth Master Gong's face sank, and he roared loudly. Wang Xian, what should we do now? Wang Dahai could sense the savage vibes from Fifth Master Gong. He wasn't even afraid of the security guards. At this moment, Wang Dahai felt a little flustered. The reason why he joined the fight was also because he was in the heat of the moment. However, the other party was clearly calling for reinforcements and had threatened to cripple them. This made him a little scared. What should we do? It's obvious to continue whacking them before their reinforcement arrives. We couldn't be waiting for them to be here to beat us up, right? Wang Xian smiled at Wang Dahai. To Wang Dahai's astonishment, Wang Xian charged towards Fifth Master Gong directly. Everyone was shocked. They had not seen anyone who fought in such a manner. Under normal circumstances, when the other parties were all put to the ground and were calling for reinforcements, the one who started the fight would typically run or just wait. However, this young man started the fight once again. When Wang Xian charged over, he saw that Fifth Master Gong was filled with shock and disbelief. He smiled at him. Aren't you calling people over? In that case, I shall see if I can kill you before your guys arrive. The moment he finished his sentence, he smashed the bottle in his hand on Fifth Master Gong's arm. Arg! Fifth Master Gong let out a horrifying shriek. His arm had already been deformed. His face was filled with horror. He isn't playing by the rules. Continue. Wang Xian smiled again at Fifth Master Gong. Under his horrified gaze, he smashed towards the other arm. Bam! Crack, crack. The sound of bottles and bones cracking propagated once again. The crowd was all shocked by the development. That young man really wants to kill Fifth Master Gong. The expressions on the other three injured young men were as white as sheets as they looked towards Wang Xian. As for the other three girls, they were lost and flustered. They cuddled together and were filled with fear as they looked at Wang Xian. Your guys are a little slow. Wang Xian smiled sarcastically as he spoke to Fifth Master Gong and grabbed another bottle. No, 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 please. Fifth Master Gong was completely petrified. He was truly afraid this time. Who the fuck dared to touch my brother? At this moment, an angry growl sounded. Fifth Master Gong was thrilled and stared at Wang Xian menacingly. You are finished. You are finished. Haha. Over 10 people rushed over. Everyone in the group was burly, and a middle-aged man in front of the group looked coldly over. Bam! Wang Xian still smashed the bottle over as the shriek of pain sounded once again. Fuck, you dare to continue. The group that charged over saw Wang Xian smashing the bottle down and heard the wail of fifth Master Gong. Among them, one burly young man dashed towards Wang Xian directly. Bam! With a simple sweeping kick, the young man that was dashing over was sent flying back and landed heavily on the sofa by the side. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Expert. This young man isn't simple. No wonder he wasn't afraid of anything. Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at them before revealing a faint smile. Just a dozen people? I'm afraid this might not be enough. The group that arrived with momentum frowned when they saw how calm Wang Xian was. This young man had just sent one of them flying away with a single kick. Moreover, the man that was sent flying didn't get up after the kick. It was clear that the young man was strong. The bar quietened down suddenly as everyone looked to the young man standing in the middle. He had the vibes of being able to stop 10,000 men. Chapter 103. Is it over? Get Brother Panther here. The middle-aged man who was standing in the middle told a young man. A dozen people did not make a move against Wang Xian. Lad, there are not many fearless people like you. Aren't you afraid of death? The middle-aged man threw a glance at the dreadful fifth Master Gong before he spoke to Wang Xian while staring at him. Heh, just a few of you? Wang Xian sneered at them. The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows as he looked at the young man in front of him with bewilderment. Fearless and composed, disregarding all of them. An ordinary young man could not possibly possess such a demeanor. The middle-aged man, unlike fifth Master Gong, knew how to think. The young man in front of him must have some backings. However, he took out a cigarette casually and lit it. Lad, arrogant people will not have good endings. Once Brother Panther arrived, this lad would have to pay the price regardless of how formidable he was. On the other hand, a young man trotted to a private room along with a security guard of the pub. Brother Panther, someone beat our buddies up. As soon as the door was opened, that young man quickly reported to the middle-aged man inside. What? There were about 6 people in the room. The one who was known as Brother Panther was rather muscular. He was slightly stunned before he stood up. Where are they? Brother Panther calmly asked. They are in the pub now. Fifth Master Gong fought with 2 young men, and he got beaten up badly. The young man replied at once. Oh, in my pub? A young man sitting in the middle lifted his chin puzzledly. With a smile, he said, Interesting. Let's check it out. Brother Panther, second master, the one who beat fifth Master Gong was a juvenile. He is formidable. He can send a person flying with just a kick, said the young man at the side. Regardless of how formidable he is, I'll not let him off for beating up my buddy, Brother Panther said coldly. He turned to the young man at the side. Second master, sorry to cause you trouble over here. It's all right. The young man gestured as he did not seem to be bothered by it. Looked like he was in a good mood today. Fine. I want to see who dares to lay his finger on my buddy. Seeing that second master was not mindful, cold radiance flashed in Brother Panther's eyes as he looked at the place where people were gathering. He bellowed, How dare he beat up my people? Let me see how formidable he is. The surrounding people were shocked as they quickly turned around and looked at the source of the voice. It's Brother Panther, Brother Panther. It's really Brother Panther. I guess that juvenile is doomed. Some people exchanged whispers in fear when they saw Brother Panther walking over. As Wang Dahai listened to the whispers around him, he displayed an anxious look on his face as he clenched his fists tightly. Wang Xian watched the approaching people emotionlessly, but he raised his eyebrow when he spotted someone. The second master who was next to Brother Panther froze as the smile on his face slowly disappeared. Were you the one who hit my buddy? Brother Panther glared at Wang Xian coldly as he pointed his finger at him. Brother Panther, it was him. Brother Panther, you must avenge me. Fifth Master Gong, who was lying in a pool of blood, said with a hideous face. However, the second master who was standing beside Brother Panther quickly trotted towards Wang Xian while they were exchanging conversations. Young Master Wang, I did not expect to see you here. This is my fault. The second master ran over and greeted him with fear. He was gritting his teeth. Damn, this bunch of useless things. He called some friends here for a celebration as he managed to pull some strings with Wang Xian. Never did he expect that he would encounter such a thing. He swept his gaze across Fifth Master Gong, who was lying on the floor, with a strong desire to destroy him for good. It's nothing. I just fought with some of them. I'll leave this in your hands. My friend and I will go back now. Let's meet for lunch someday, said Wang Xian to the young man before him, who was the director's son he'd met yesterday. Wang Xian peered at Wang Dahai, who was looking worried and gloomy. Yes, young Master Wang. Leave this to me, and I'll make sure you're happy with the outcome. Director's son nodded hastily in assurance. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. He walked to Wang Dahai and said, Let's go, Dahai. Wang Dahai was stunned as he followed Wang Xian outside in bewilderment. Everyone was stunned. What's going on? Brother Panther was dumbfounded too when he saw the second master running to the juvenile and speaking to him respectfully. Eventually, he witnessed the departure of the juvenile. He had a mixed expression when he saw the juvenile walking past him, but he remained silent as second master walked towards him. Second master, he. Brother Panther pointed shockingly at the juvenile who left. Director's son took out a cigarette slowly. Panther, don't you know how to manage your subordinates? Brother Panther froze as he panicked while looking at Director Sunday, second master. What have I done wrong? Please let me know. Break their limbs and make sure they disappear from Rivertown. Teach these 3 girls a lesson too, Director's son said slowly. What Director's son said shocked everyone around him. What's going on? Why did the second master give such instructions? That juvenile? I know you have a lot of questions in your head. What's the reason for the celebration tonight? Director's son looked at Brother Panther and asked him passively. Because you befriended such a formidable expert. As Brother Panther spoke, his eyes were agape. Second master, could that juvenile be? Director's son nodded his head slowly. I wish I could save some face for you, but it was your men who courted their own death. Brother Panther was appalled as trepidation filled his eyes. Today, second master's son had invited them out to have some drinks. Obviously, he was in a chirpy mood. Hence, they were puzzled and asked him about it. In the end, the second master told them proudly that he had befriended a formidable person who was one of the supreme people in the entire Rivertown. His remark shocked them. They would look up to anyone who was favored by the second master. On top of that, the second master made another remark which startled them the most. He was someone who could make old Xian bow and apologize. They were unable to stay composed after hearing these words. That person is old Xian. The second master could enjoy his current status because he worked for the Xian family. I know what to do. Brother Panther took a deep breath and stared coldly at the fifth Master Gong. Fifth Master Gong, you're gonna get us killed. Break their limbs. A resentful bellow shocked the rest of the bar. What's the situation now? Fifth Master Gong and his bunch of friends, including the 3 girls, stared at Brother Panther with disbelief and despair. Is it over? Asked Wang Dahai, who was following behind Wang Xian as he looked over his shoulder dumbfoundedly. Yes, it's over. What else do you want? All of a sudden, Wang Dahai hugged Wang Xian and cried. Sob, old Wang, I'm out of love. Out of love. I never thought that Rong was such a person. Chapter 104, Military Training. Wang Dahai had just gotten dumped. Using his own words, it was being dumped before getting into a relationship. Rong was the girl he'd liked the most since he was born. However, the shame was that her character was poor. Nonetheless, this didn't stop Wang Dahai from feeling like he got dumped. He dragged Wang Xian along to drink for the entire night in memory of his failed relationship. They drank from the wee hours of the day until dawn broke, and Wang Xian accompanied him for the entire night. When he woke up, it was already 4 in the afternoon. Dahai. Wang Xian tried to wake Wang Dahai. No. Shit. It's already 4 p.m. I still have to report to class at night. Wang Dahai exclaimed and quickly sat up. My head is aching from the drinking. Let's get up and go get dinner. Let's go. I'll treat you to something good. First grade restaurant? Wang Dahai's eyes lit up. They'd had a long conversation the previous night, and Wang Xian told him about the fact that he was the boss of first grade restaurant. Brother Xian, let's go and have something good to relieve my sorrows of being dumped. Wang Dahai jumped up immediately. From his excited looks, he didn't look like he just got dumped. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. He changed into another set of clothes before giving Xiaoyu a call. I've also called my sister and her roommates. Oh right, where's Zhang Wan and Zhang Feng? Zhang Wan and Zhang Feng were the other two people in the same dormitory. In his dormitory, Wang Dahai and Wang Xian were closer to each other. Zhang Wan and Zhang Feng were closer to each other. Nonetheless, the four of them had a cordial relationship. I don't know. They must be with their girlfriends. Wang Xian nodded his head but still called them to verify. However, they were accompanying their girlfriends and couldn't come. Wang Xian didn't press further and headed towards the girls' dormitory with Wang Dahai. Brother. Xiaoyu, Yuan and Su Qian walked over. Xiaoyu walked to his side joyously and held on to his arm. Before we go get dinner, let me introduce him. He is my brother, Wang Dahai. Wang Xian explained to the group of girls, after which he introduced the girls to Wang Dahai. Hello, pretty. Wang Dahai chuckled. However, his attention fell on Su Qian and remained there for some time. Let's go for dinner. Wang Xian laughed. Xiaoyu, are you guys starting on military training tomorrow? Yeah, 20 days of military training. That's horrible. Xiaoyu pouted and said grumpily. After the military training, we probably will tan too. The group chuckled and arrived at first grade restaurant. First grade restaurant had returned to normal operations by today. However, it was still filled with customers, and the popularity of first grade restaurant hadn't subsided on the internet. Currently, the net profit of first grade restaurant could reach approximately $1 million a day. It could be considered very high. However, when he recalled the materials he needed to build the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian could feel his head starting to ache. During dinner, Wang Xian called Guan Shuqing over too. This made Wang Dahai a little dumbfounded as he gave a thumbs up to Wang Xian. After the group finished their dinner, they headed back towards the school. The school was starting officially today. Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing were chatting happily. After not seeing each other for 2 days, they had a lot to talk about. As for Wang Dahai, he got closer to Su Qian and was trying to impart onto her his experiences at the University of Rivertown. After parting with the girls, Wang Dahai looked at the back view of Su Qian and suddenly blurted out, "Haze, old Wang, I feel that I'm in love again." Wang Xian was drinking from a bottle. When he heard what Wang Dahai said, he almost spit it out. Brother, you are in love again? Wang Xian looked at him in astonishment. I'm serious about it this time. Did you notice how cute Su Qian is? It's especially so for her plump face. Old Wang, my spring is coming again. I've made up my mind. I'm going to woo her. Wang Dahai spoke passionately. However, when he saw Wang Xian simply walking towards the classroom, he quickly asked, Hey, old Wang, do you think I stand a chance? Yes, you do. Wang Xian replied helplessly. That will do. I've decided to bring water to Su Qian during her military training period and show her warmth. Wang Xian was speechless. When the two of them arrived in the class, most of the students were already there. Wang Xian specialized in international economics and trade. Therefore, the guys far exceeded the number of girls. Moreover, beautiful girls were few and far between. The prettiest of them all was Su Mayer. However, she was very flirtatious and many did not have a good impression of her. When he stepped into the room, Wang Xian immediately felt gazes upon him. Turning around, he saw Su Mayer shifting away her gaze in a hurry. In her eyes, there was fear. Wang Xian smiled and found 2 seats for him and Wang Dahai. Soon, the school counselor walked in. The school counselor was a young man. After taking attendance, going through the questions they did for examination last year, and reminding the students to study diligently, he left. The second year was much easier than the first year. There weren't many miscellaneous matters to attend to, and they had more free time. After 2 lessons in the morning the second day, Wang Dahai rushed to Wang Xian. "Let's go, old Wang. Have you found out what I've asked you about? Didn't you add her on WeChat? Can't you ask her yourself?" Wang Xian looked at him, feeling speechless. "You don't understand. I couldn't make it so obvious. It would be horrible if she thinks that I am the same as those casual guys. Quick, quick." Wang Dahai was pressing him, and Wang Xian had no choice but to walk ahead helplessly. "Let's go. I'll bring you over." Seeing Wang Dahai regaining the vitality of spring, Wang Xian was still very happy about it. At the very least, Wang Dahai wasn't severely affected by being dumped. The sun was vicious today, and this was something that the Year 1 students wouldn't like to see. As the intense sunlight shone down, this group of spoiled students all felt miserable. Wang Xian brought Wang Dahai to a spot in the field, found a place and sat down. "This is where my sister and her classmates are having their military training. Su Qian is also here. Let us wait a while. When it's their break time, we will go bring them some water." Wang Dahai chuckled as he looked around fervently, trying to spot Su Qian. Wang Xian looked across and noticed that, after the girls put on the military cap, it wasn't easy for him to see the girls' looks. Therefore, he took out his mobile phone to play. Perhaps the students just had their break. Therefore, the tutors didn't give them a break despite Wang Xian and Wang Dahai waiting for half an hour. Under the intense sun, one could see that every student's face was turning a little red. Wang Dahai was a little plump and didn't take the heat well. He wiped off the perspiration on his forehead. "It's so hot today. Luckily, there was rain for a few days during our military training last year. Only by going through trials and tribulations can you get your girl." Wang Xian looked at him and chuckled. "Oh no, someone has fainted." At this moment, a scream sounded from the side. Wang Xian and Wang Dahai immediately looked over and saw a student lying on the ground. The military officer immediately carried her up and ran towards Wang Xian and Wang Dahai's location where there was more shade. Chapter 105, Sacred Followers Guild. "Get out of the way. Can those 2 students give up their seats?" The instructor yelled at Wang Xian and Wang Dahai as he carried the student over. "She must have fainted from the heat stroke." Wang Dahai was shocked as he stood up hastily and gave up his seat. Wang Xian also stood up when he saw the instructor lay the girl down on the ground. At this time, 2 doctors ran over. Apart from the school doctors, the regular hospital doctors were present during the military training at the University of Rivertown to prevent any accidents. 2 doctors, a middle-aged man and a 27 to 28-year-old female doctor, sprinted over. "Dr. Sun, let me take a look first. She must be suffering from heat stroke," said the middle-aged school doctor to Dr. Sun as he carried his medical equipment. "Sure, Dr. Song. You can examine her first." Dr. Sun nodded. At this time, Wang Xian felt Wang Dahai tugging his arm. He peered over with doubt. Wang Dahai was pouting his lips in a direction. Wang Xian looked over. That doctor was about 28 years old. She wore a white gown that couldn't hide her bosomy figure. Her white gown was pushed up at the chest area. She had a fair and refined profile. With bun-up hair, she looked just like a goddess. Wang Xian was in a stupor for a moment as he found her familiar. He then recalled the same Dr. Sun at the previous accident the other time. "Her body feels hot. It doesn't seem like she got heat stroke." The anxious voice of the middle-aged school doctor was heard. "Give her some cold water before we apply some medicine on her." "She's not having a heat stroke? Didn't the students have their checkup in advance? Check her heartbeat to see if there are any problems." Dr. Sun continued, "Let me do it since it's more appropriate." "Sure." The middle-aged school doctor agreed immediately while Dr. Sun took over. Dr. Sun took out her stethoscope immediately and placed it at the girl's chest area. "Gosh, her heart is beating very slowly." Dr. Sun's expression had a drastic change. She flipped the eyelid of the girl. Her eyes are red. This is not a heat stroke. Her breathing is weak. We must send her to the hospital immediately, said the middle-aged school doctor as he placed his finger on the girl's nose. What's going on? Is she all right? Just then, 2 school in-charges rushed over and consulted. It's not a heat stroke. It should be some other illness. We need to get her to the hospital now for an examination, the middle-aged school doctor replied immediately. How serious? The 2 school teachers frowned. Hurry, get the car now. We're sending her to the hospital before it's too late. Upon seeing the motionless girl, Dr. Sun spoke anxiously. Okay, I'll get the car now, said the 2 school teachers who were panicked too. The impact would be huge if students had any accidents during military training in school. Let me take a look. At this time, Wang Xian spoke when he saw the frail-looking girl. You? Upon hearing Wang Xian, everyone turned to look at him. Don't you fool around, said the middle-aged school doctor impatiently as he realized how young and inexperienced Wang Xian was. Wait, you! Dr. Sun looked at Wang Xian as she observed him carefully with a pair of refined eyes. You were the one in that accident. Yes, let me take a look. Wang Xian nodded and said to Dr. Sunday. Okay, go ahead. Radiance flickered in the eyes of Dr. Sun as she stared at Wang Xian with curiosity. Previously, they did a detailed examination of the young men and the young lady from the car accident back in the hospital. What shocked all of them in the hospital was that the broken leg of the young girl had miraculously healed by itself. On the other hand, the young man's injuries were even more severe as his ribs were fractured. Yet, the bones had been fixed in some unique way. It was shocking to all the doctors. Such a situation could be considered a miracle in the medical field. When Dr. Sun learned about the report, the first thing she thought of was that juvenile. She did not expect to meet him here. The middle-aged school doctor and the 2 school teachers were slightly stunned by what Dr. Sun had said, but they did not stop him. I'll do it. However, a juvenile in his military uniform walked out suddenly just when Wang Xian stood up. The juvenile was 8 meters tall, looking cheerful and handsome. His confident vibe was even more intense when he was in a military training outfit. Out of my way. Let me do it. The juvenile looked at Wang Xian and spoke immediately while he fished out an ID from his right pocket. This is... The middle-aged school doctor opened his eyes wide with a shocked expression. He exclaimed, Sacred Followers Guild, medical saint. I'm not a medical saint yet. I'm just an apprentice. The juvenile gave a faint smile as he held his chin high when he heard the exclamation from the middle-aged school doctor. Confident, handsome, imposing, unexpected, unexpected. The middle-aged school doctor was overwhelmed with surprise. Little Miracle Doctor, come and take a look. Sacred Followers Guild. Dr. Sun was also taken aback as she gazed at the juvenile. Sacred Followers Guild was one of the 2 sacred places in the medical industry. Almost everyone in the medical industry knew about Sacred Followers Guild. At the same time, all the medical students were hoping to have a chance to learn in the sacred place. However, only very few doctors managed to pass the test. Any apprentices who walked out from the Sacred Followers Guild were equipped with formidable medical skills. The middle-aged school doctor spoke respectfully to the juvenile, and the juvenile was enjoying such treatment. He wriggled his finger, and the silver needles appeared in his hand. Awesome! The middle-aged school doctor was amazed by the appearance of the silver needles. Excuse me. The juvenile pushed Wang Xian away and squatted down immediately. Little Miracle Doctor, please take a look at this student to see what's wrong with her, said the 2 school teachers respectfully. Apparently, they had heard of the reputation of the Sacred Followers Guild. Okay, don't worry. If it's not something serious, I can cure her with a silver needle. The juvenile drew his lips and spoke confidently. That'll do. The 2 teachers heaved a sigh of relief as they smiled. Then they looked at Wang Xian and Wang Dahai who were gathering around them. 2 of you, please give way. Don't interrupt the Little Miracle Doctor while he is treating. Sacred Followers Guild. Wang Xian took 2 steps back as he gazed at the juvenile with surprise. He had heard old Shui mentioning the Sacred Followers Guild. They were like the ultimate existence in the entire medical industry. The members of Sacred Followers Guild came from a mix of the underworld and society. Some of them were commoners, while some were martial artists. However, the majority of them were mainly martial artists since they would circulate their internal energy during their treatment. The juvenile placed his hand on the young girl's hand and closed his eyes. The juvenile knit his eyebrows slightly. "What is it, little miracle doctor? Is her illness serious?" asked the two teachers when they saw the juvenile frowning. "It's a little tricky." In a flash, the juvenile took the silver needle in his hand and inserted it into one of the acupoints on the girl's arm. "I can treat her, but it will take some time." Chapter 106, Technique. Chapter 106, Technique. This girl's body is deficient and lacks a type of element. This made her body weak and made her suffer from breathing difficulties. She will still need some time to recuperate. The juvenile wiggled his fingers, and another dozen silver needles appeared in his hand. He continued with a smile, "I'll execute silver needle treatment on her to first wake her up." When the juvenile completed his sentence, he moved his hands so quickly that they formed after images which confused the onlooking crowd. "Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You are indeed from the Sacred Followers Guild. The techniques of hidden needles and laying out needles are truly incredible." "Yeah, I would have never thought that the University of Rivertown would have such an incredible expert. Looking at the medical skills of this young miracle doctor, you are more than qualified to become a tutor in our medical branch." The middle-aged school doctor and lead each exclaimed in disbelief. "It's just a simple trick and isn't anything." The juvenile revealed a satisfied look, but still replied in an arrogant manner. "If this is a simple trick for this young miracle doctor, my medical skills will be nothing in comparison." "Incredible." The middle-aged school doctor gave him a thumbs up. "Hee hee." The juvenile smiled faintly as he controlled the silver needle in his hand. Soon, the girl opened her eyes gradually. What happened?" The girl looked around, feeling a little lost. Awesome. You are indeed worthy of the name of Miracle Doctor." The two leads were thrilled and remarked excitedly. "All right, for the coming week, rest well and have some beef and fruits. Together with my silver needles treatment, I can guarantee that you will recover within a week." As the young man waved his hand, all the silver needles were kept within his hand. "So strong." Dr. Sun, who was on the side, also looked at the girl with amazement. "Basic operations." The arrogant juvenile nodded his head and suddenly looked to Wang Xian. This student seemed to be thinking of providing treatment too a while ago. "Did you learn medical skills previously?" Wang Xian was taken aback, shook his head, smiled, and replied, "I know a little about healing. SK. If you don't understand it well, it's better than you don't try providing treatment to others. Otherwise, you might make it worse if you misdiagnose the symptoms." The juvenile spoke in a tone similar to how a senior would guide a junior. This young miracle doctor is right. Misdiagnosing would only harm the patient. If you aren't confident, it's better if you don't act rashly. Not only does this young miracle doctor have extraordinary medical skills, but his medical ethics are also worth respecting, the middle-aged man said as he tried to lick the juvenile's boots. "I'm just a little more gifted than others." The juvenile shook his head and continued, "Please send this student to the dormitory to rest. Give her something to eat in an hour or two, and she should be recovering well. For the following days, I'll perform a few additional rounds of treatments, and she will recover fully." "All right, thank you, young miracle doctor." "Thank you, young miracle doctor." The two leads quickly replied, "Why don't we excuse the young miracle doctor from training and let him be a doctor here? If any students are to encounter any issues, we would also be more assured with this young miracle doctor with us." "Yeah, that will work too." The juvenile nodded his head and revealed a prideful smile. "With me around, there wouldn't be any issues." Yeah, definitely. With you around, we will feel more reassured too." The middle-aged school doctor quickly seconded. Hays, you two students, if you guys are free, can you help us bring this girl back to her room? One of the leads said to Wang Xian and Wang Dahai. All right. Wang Dahai nodded his head and squatted down, ready to help the girl up. Let me do it. Wang Xian extended his hand over to stop Wang Dahai. He bent down and placed his hand on the stomach area of the girl. Huh, what are you doing? When the middle-aged school doctor saw Wang Xian placing his hand on the girl's stomach, he immediately frowned. I'm just taking a look. Wang Xian lifted his head and smiled. What are you looking for? You can't possibly be thinking that you could cure her? The middle-aged doctor said sarcastically. Hurry up. The young miracle doctor has already seen her. Stop causing trouble. Hee hee. Don't move recklessly if you don't know anything. Do you think you could tell her condition just by placing your hand on her? Childish. The young man looked at Wang Xian with contempt. Hee hee. Wang Xian laughed and had a cold expression. I was still wondering how incredible one from the Sacred Followers Guild is. It seems that you are just average. What the hell are you saying? Do you even understand what Sacred Followers Guild represents? When Wang Xian completed his sentence, the middle-aged school doctor standing by the side immediately shouted at Wang Xian mercilessly. What did you say? I dare you to repeat it. When that juvenile heard Wang Xian, his face sank too. Sacred Followers Guild isn't something you could humiliate. What the hell are you saying? Hurry and apologize to this young miracle doctor. The two leads also condemned Wang Xian solemnly. If everyone in Sacred Followers Guild is at your level, hee hee. Wang Xian looked at the group of people shouting at him, and his expression turned chilly. He looked to the girl and moved his finger, tapping on over 10 spots on the girl. Brat, are you humiliating me? The juvenile's eyes flickered as he stared at Wang Xian. He moved his fingers and needles appeared within his hands. Wang Xian ignored him and simply injected vitality of the wood element into the girl's body. With his current strength, he wouldn't have to exhaust dragon energy for treatment and could simply rely on the vitality of the wood element to cure the girl. The fatigued girl suddenly felt strength returning to her body. She opened her eyes and looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Brat, I'm talking to you. Seeing that Wang Xian wasn't replying to him, he remarked, Get up. Wang Xian stood up gradually and gave the juvenile a harsh stare. He then extended his hand over to the girl. Thank you. The girl nodded her head and grabbed onto Wang Xian's hands. She was blushing and stood up with Wang Xian's assistance. The crowd was stunned. Their attention was all on the girl. Dr. Sun, who had been by the side all along, was thrilled. She immediately asked, Are you feeling any discomfort? Nope. When brother tapped on my body, I felt very comfortable. Moreover, I'm feeling a lot better than before. The girl replied as she stole glances at Wang Xian with a blushing face. You just have a small issue and it could be solved with a little treatment. Have regular meals in the future and don't lag behind on your military training. Wang Xian instructed directly. The truth was that he didn't know the source of the girl's problem. However, it didn't matter. The dense vitality of the wood element had eradicated the issue at the source. Besides that, the girl's body composition was a little weak, and military training would be beneficial for her. All right, brother, thank you. The girl nodded her head. Wang Xian nodded his head in response and turned to the juvenile beside him. He lifted his head and said with contempt, If members of the Sacred Followers Guild are like you, they aren't anything special. Trash. When the juvenile heard Wang Xian, he held onto the silver needles in his hand tightly and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The middle-aged school doctor and the two leads were stunned. This time, they didn't comment anything when they heard Wang Xian. Wang Xian had simply tapped a few times on the girl and she was cured. As for this juvenile from the Sacred Followers Guild, he claimed that the girl required a week of treatment. One could easily tell the difference between them. Recalling how they had chided Wang Xian just a while ago, the group was feeling embarrassed currently. You are from the Medical Saint sect? What techniques did you just use? The juvenile stared intensely at Wang Xian and questioned him. Brat, I'm not from the Medical Saint sect. As for medical techniques, I only understood a little and am not as well known as your Sacred Followers Guild. Hee hee. Wang Xian looked at the juvenile with mocking eyes. As for the technique, it's called anyhow pressure points technique. Hee, brat, don't be so cocky when you don't have the capabilities. Otherwise, you are just bringing shame to the Sacred Followers Guild. Wang Xian imitated how the juvenile had acted previously and chided, as though he was simply educating a junior as a senior. Chapter 107. You can't woo a girl like that. Anyhow pressure points technique. When the juvenile heard the technique he mentioned, he trembled and stared hard at Wang Xian. What the hell was that? Wang Xian looked at the self-conceited juvenile with a smile on his face. Acting tough in front of me? Using me as a stepping stone? Serves you right. As for what Wang Xian did just now, it was true that he was doing it without any thoughts. That was also done deliberately to maintain a low profile. Otherwise, the girl would be fully recovered with a swing of his arm. Fine, just you wait. The juvenile stared fiercely at Wang Xian. Wang Xian put away his smile and looked impassively at the juvenile. Slowly, he said, I'll be waiting. Humph. With a cold snort, the juvenile went back to his military training. The doctor and the two leads next to each other parted their mouths. With some hesitation, they dispersed into the crowd. Dr. Sun did not leave as she observed Wang Xian with curiosity. Just now, the juvenile from the Sacred Followers Guild had already displayed formidable medical skills, but this young man here was much more powerful than him. When Dr. Sun thought about it, she had some desires for the astounding medical skills. Hey, this is the second time that we meet, said Dr. Sun, looking at Wang Xian. Yes. Wang Xian smiled to Dr. Sunday. You are formidable in medical skill. Dr. Sun stared at him with passionate eyes as she wanted to know him better. Wang Xian smiled and said modestly, I'm not that skillful. I'm a little ashamed of myself if your standard is considered. Dr. Sun gave a bitter smile. You're the most skillful doctor I have ever seen. Haha, it's nothing. Wang Xian chuckled with embarrassment since he was admired by a beautiful doctor who was older than him. Wang Dahai was dumbfounded as he observed the look of the beautiful doctor. He then shook his head slowly and found himself a seat. Wang Xian brushed Dr. Sun off with a few words before he sat down beside Wang Dahai. Wang Xian wanted to chat with the beautiful girl, but Dr. Sun posed some medical-related questions to him. Wang Xian felt awkward as he knew nothing about it. So, he briefly answered her. Dr. Sun bit her lip when she noticed that Wang Xian did not seem to welcome her. Hence, she blatantly asked for his phone number and left. Seeing Wang Xian walking towards him, Wang Dahai gave him a thumbs up. Bro, you're terrific. Wang Xian smiled. Your Su Qian has rested enough. Send her the drinks now. Haha, we can do it together. You deliver drinks to your sister while I will give mine to Su Qian. Wang Dahai pulled him immediately and headed to the ladies where a crowd had just dispersed. After fawning over the ladies, Wang Dahai went back to the dormitory with Wang Xian, feeling satisfied. Do you want a game? Asked Wang Dahai when they were back in the room. Nope, you go ahead. I'll just lie down for a while. Wang Xian shook his head. He lay on his bed, thinking about the Dragon Palace. To construct the Dragon Palace, he would require a substantial amount of materials. These materials would be worth at least hundreds of billions if they were to convert into monetary value. Some of these resources could be found in sinking ships or minerals from the ocean floor in the sea. But he would need to purchase some of the materials like fine iron and silver by himself. This would cost a bomb. Now, I need to think of a way to earn money. The first-grade restaurant is only earning about $1 million in a day. Compared to what I need, it is way too little. Wang Xian knit his brows slightly. Finding ways to earn money was a problem for him. Medical skills? Should I open a medical hall? An idea came to him when Wang Xian thought of the girl who he treated just now. Opening a medical hall seemed viable. Given his current 5 elements divine dragon strength, treating ordinary illness was a piece of cake to him. Moreover, he could open a high-class medical hall where one consultation would cost about 2 to 3 million or even higher. Once the reputation of the medical hall is established, Wang Xian could take in 2 to 3 patients a day. In a month, he would be able to earn hundreds of millions, or even more. Wang Xian drew a smile at the corner of his lips. He immediately took out his phone and made a few calls. First of all, he called old Xian, asking for his help to get a certification to practice medicine. Opening a medical hall required certification. Otherwise, the medical hall would be operating without an official license. At the same time, he got old Shui and old Xian to promote and refer some clients to him. Finally, he called manager Huang too. He recalled that a shop was put on lease right beside the first-grade restaurant. He could buy that place over and turn it into his medical hall. It would also be convenient for him to pop by the first-grade restaurant to have his lunches and dinners. After making 3 calls, Wang Xian's plan to open the Divine Dragon Medical Hall had finally begun. It's 11:30 am now. I'll ask Guan Shuqing out for lunch. Guys should take the initiative. Wang Xian climbed out from his bed. Dahai, I'm having lunch with someone. You can have lunch by yourself? What a beast. Who are you going out with? Asked Wang Dahai, who was playing his game. Wang Xian waved his hand and ignored him. He took out his phone and sent a message to Guan Shuqing. Today, Guan Shuqing had 4 lessons in the morning. So, Wang Xian headed straight to her classroom. The University of Rivertown was a huge school. It took Wang Xian 5 minutes to walk from the male dormitory to Guan Shuqing's classroom. Wang Xian looked at the building with classrooms. He then walked over and waited for Guan Shuqing downstairs. V-room. When he just arrived, the sound of a sports car was heard from behind. Wang Xian looked back with curiosity. He spotted a young man coming out from an Audi R8 sports car that was parked beside him. The young man was wearing formal attire, looking charming. He opened his boot and took out a bouquet of red roses. With a face wearing smiles, he stood beside the car and waited. Wang Xian looked at the young man and smiled. The young man also noticed Wang Xian, who was next to him. He drew his lips and glanced at the expensive watch on his wrist. 10 more minutes until class dismissal. Hey, are you waiting for your girlfriend? The young man asked Wang Xian, as he was bored. Well, she's not my girlfriend yet, Wang Xian said with a smile. Oh, are you wooing that girl? The young man looked at him and asked with a smile. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. Are you going to lunch with her? Asked the young man smilingly. Yes, we're going to the canteen for lunch. Wang Xian nodded. Canteen? The young man was slightly stunned as he curved his lips slightly. Bro, since you're wooing the girl, you should treat her to something good. In this way, the girl will feel your effort. The canteen? The young man shook his head as he talked. You need to be sincere in wooing the girl. If you want to impress her, learn from me. You're still far from it. As he said this, he patted Wang Xian on the shoulder. He was earnest in his words. Girls are vain. She will be touched by my formal confession. It's not going to work if you do it like you did now. This is your shortcoming. Chapter 108. Shocking Rumors in School. Hee. Wang Xian looked at the young man and shook his head. He found it a little hilarious and commented, Love in school is simpler. Simpler? Brother, I wouldn't call that simpler. It's brainless. Tell me, if we confessed at the same time to the same girl, who do you think the girl would accept? The young man replied in contempt, You are still a far cry from me. However, there's nothing you could do about it as you were born with it. Your looks are still all right, and you are still better than ordinary students. He added this with a faint sense of superiority. He took out his phone to play and no longer paid attention to Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the young man and wasn't fond of him. However, he did not take his words to heart and simply waited there. 11:50 am, the bell that signaled the end of the lesson rang. Students walked out of the classrooms one after another. Some students who had just walked out immediately saw the Audi R8 sports car by the classroom block. Wow, a sports car. It's an Audi R8. What a stunning sports car. It would be great if I could get a sports car in my lifetime. That guy has a bouquet of flowers in his hand. It seems like he's here to make a confession. Isn't he the third-year senior, Lu Feng? I've heard that his family is filthy rich and that he always drives his sports car to school. I wonder who he is confessing to today. That girl would be so lucky. If only I was her. Some students looked at the young man beside the sports car and started commenting. Many students looked towards him with eyes of envy. A rich family, drives a sports car, and good-looking. A guy like him is the envy of all men and the dream guy for all girls. Hearing the comments from the surrounding students, Lu Feng revealed a satisfied smile. He took a glance at Wang Xian, lifted his head proudly, and kept one of his hands in his pocket. More and more students walked out of their classrooms. Some students had no intention to leave the area, as they would like to see who that lucky girl would be. She's here. At this moment, Lu Feng took out his hand from his pocket and had his eyes locked in front of him. His eyes sparkled with joy. Guan Shuqing's lesson had ended, and she was carrying a bag. She tiptoed as she looked around her. When she saw Wang Xian, she walked over excitedly. Wang Xian also spotted Guan Shuqing as he extended his hand and waved at her. Shuqing. Just as Wang Xian was about to walk over, he suddenly saw the young man walk directly towards Guan Shuqing. Guan Shuqing was clearly taken aback as she looked at the young man in shock. Shuqing, from the very first time I saw you, I've fallen in love with you. Today, I've finally mustered the courage to confess to you. Lu Feng suddenly went down on one knee. He handed the fresh flowers towards Guan Shuqing and spoke with sincerity. Wow, who would have expected that the one he is confessing to would be Guan Shuqing? Oh, Guan Shuqing. She's one of the 5 goddesses of our University of Rivertown. She has a great disposition, a good figure, and a great character. Lu Feng isn't bad either, and is pretty handsome. I believe Guan Shuqing might accept him. Lu Feng is so rich and even drives a sports car. I guess Guan Shuqing will most likely accept him. Oh my goodness. Could it be that a beautiful girl like her is going to be attached? There were over 100 students that had gathered. Some of them even took out their mobile phones to take pictures and videos. Shuqing, would you be my girlfriend? In front of over 100 students, I promise that I will treat you well forever. I'll love you and protect you. Lu Feng said loudly, I'll get you whatever you want. If you want a sports car, I'll give one to you. If you want a bag, I'll get you the best out there. Extravagant, and a confession fully associated with materialism. A sports car that costs over $2 million by the side, a handsome Lu Feng, and a sincere confession. Many girls around them were looking on in anticipation. If only they were the female protagonist, how great would it be? What a shame. A matching couple. Say yes. At this moment, a girl shouted loudly. Say yes, say yes. Following this, 7 to 8 other students joined in with the chanting. Guan Shuqing, who was in the midst of this, looked at Lu Feng in shock. She had not expected him to confess to her all of a sudden. Moreover, he did it under Wang Xian's attention. This made Guan Shuqing frown, and she replied directly, I don't like you. Please don't disturb me. After completing her sentence, she walked directly towards Wang Xian. I'm sorry, Xiao Xian. I don't know him well and had not expected him to confess to me all of a sudden. Please don't take it the wrong way. Guan Shuqing quickly explained to Wang Xian. It's all right. Let's go get lunch. Wang Xian smiled and didn't take it to heart. Considering that Guan Shuqing was so beautiful, having people confessing to her wouldn't be uncommon. What was different was that this young man did it in a more high-profile manner. And at this moment, Lu Feng, who was still on his knee, was completely shocked. His eyes opened wide in disbelief as he turned his head around. He saw that the girl he just confessed to was walking towards the school canteen with that teenager he saw previously. The surrounding students were also shocked by the development. What the? Guan Shuqing just went for lunch with another guy. Is that Guan Shuqing's boyfriend? Why didn't I hear about it previously? Lu Feng was rejected. He was actually rejected. He drives a sports car and had a bouquet of fresh flowers in his hand. Yet, Guan Shuqing didn't even take a further look at him and even went for lunch with another guy. Shocking news. It looks like Guan Shuqing likes that guy. What the? Why? Who's that guy? It must be really embarrassing for Lu Feng. It isn't embarrassing to be rejected by Guan Shuqing, but to see Guan Shuqing go to the canteen with another guy for lunch must be heartbreaking. The surrounding students were discussing fervently. No one had expected this to end in such a way. Listening to the comments of the crowd and seeing Guan Shuqing's back view, his face was red from embarrassment. Recalling what he'd said to the young man previously, a surge of heat flooded to his face. Damn! Lu Feng stood up angrily and threw the bouquet of flowers in his hand into the rubbish bin by the side. Under the mocking eyes of the surrounding students, he drove off. This time, he had really embarrassed himself badly. If this incident is posted to the school forum, it will definitely cause a huge hoo-ha. Some students who were filming previously exclaimed, "Haha, I've already uploaded it to the school forum. Things are going to get interesting." Wang Xian didn't know that he was about to get really famous. A simple love while in university and having lunch with Guan Shuqing alone at the school canteen made him feel really comfortable. The lunch lasted for half an hour, and the couple walked around the school campus for another half an hour. What they didn't know was that within the school forum, the incident that had happened in the afternoon had been spreading like wildfire. Afternoon. Just as Wang Xian entered the dormitory room, 3 pairs of eyes that were filled with jealousy stared fervently at him. "Old Wang, you are finally here. There's no wonder why they called you Old Wang." Wang Xian looked at them in shock and joked, "What are you guys doing?" "Old Wang." "No, it should be Brother Xian. Take a look at the school forum quickly. You are famous now." Chapter 109. The Fight Between Two Women. Lu Feng, the third-year student, drove a sports car. With flowers in his hand, he was rejected by Guan Shuqing for his confession. Guan Shuqing turned down Lu Feng's confession flatly and went lunch with another guy. Who is this guy? Guan Shuqing actually rejected Lu Feng, who drove a sports car and went to the canteen for lunch with him. "Bro Lu Feng, are you heartbroken? Did you throw your face?" As his roommates looked at him with bewilderment, Wang Xian opened his computer and read the messages one by one. The entire school forum was flooded with dozens of threads regarding Lu Feng's confession for Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian clicked on a thread randomly. Our third-year senior, Lu Feng, was in his formal attire, driving his Audi R8 sports car that was worth more than $2 million in the school. He held a beautiful bouquet of flowers and confessed to the goddess Guan Shuqing. Just when all the students thought he was going to succeed, Guan Shuqing rejected him without hesitation. She then walked off to the canteen and had lunch with a guy who was waiting for her with empty hands. All of you did not witness the mixed expression on Senior Lu Feng's face back then. A loaded person like him actually lost to a nobody. Heart-shattering. This is too heart-shattering. In addition to the text, some pictures were uploaded too. With one knee down, a guy was holding flowers with a luxurious car beside him. In the end, the girl who received the confession left with another guy. The photos were clearly taken. Guan Shuqing, Lu Feng, and another guy were clearly captured in the photos. "I look handsome, but..." Wang Xian looked at himself in the photos and gave a bitter smile. "Old Wang, you're going to be famous. Damn, you are courting goddess Guan Shuqing quietly. You need to give us a treat. A treat." Zhang Wan was yelling from the bottom bunk. "I don't want to be famous." Wang Xian shook his head. As he continued scrolling down, he was surprised to find a video clip. The entire incident that had happened in the afternoon was recorded in the video. This made him speechless. At the same time, Lan Qingyue was sitting in front of the computer on her desk as she browsed the school forum in the female dormitory. Her face paled, and she bit her lip tightly when she saw Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing walking side by side to the canteen. Eventually, her face revealed a determined expression. Wang Xian had gone famous. Other classes might not know him, but his own classmates would definitely recognize him. As such, all his classmates were staring at him when he arrived at his class in the afternoon. The guys were half envious, half jealous of him. Some even gave him a thumbs up. Awesome. Wang Xian chuckled. In the afternoon, he had 2 lessons. With a divine dragon's body, Wang Xian's memory had attained a daunting level. Learning was far too easy for him. Just when he was in class, his phone rang suddenly. He checked his phone and realized it was a WeChat message from Lan Qingyue. Can we have dinner tonight? A shy emoticon was attached behind the text. Wang Xian got used to how Lan Qingyue chatted in a girly manner. He pondered and replied, Sure. Great. Do you have class in the afternoon? Yes, I'm in the midst of it, but it is going to be over soon. Okay, I'll look for you then. Okay. After he chatted with Lan Qingyue for a while, Wang Xian looked at the time. It was almost 5 p.m. Time for dinner. At this time, Lan Qingyue was dressed elegantly in a blue dress. She had a slim figure and a refined profile. She bunned her hair up, which gave her a youthful and noble vibe. While waiting for the class dismissal, Lan Qingyue stood quietly in front of the building with a bottle of water in her hand. 5 p.m. The school bell rang. Old Wang, let's have dinner together. I'm starving. Wang Dahai shouted loudly as soon as the class was over. Let's go together, Zhang Wen said in agreement. Hey, Wang Xian might not be going with you guys. With the company of a beautiful girl, who still would want to stick around with you guys. Damn, old Wang. Are you that kind of person who forsakes friends for love? Three of them, Wang Dahai, Zhang Wen, and Zhang Feng, raised their voices as they stared at him. Wang Xian looked at them speechlessly. He said, not tonight. I'll treat you guys to dinner tomorrow. Gosh, Zhang Feng is right. Old Wang, I never expected you to be such a person. Geez, if I had such a pretty girlfriend like Guan Shuqing, I would want to stick with her all day long. Let's go and ignore this ungrateful fellow. The three of us will have dinner on our own. They walked out as they talked. Wang Xian shook his head without any words. He followed behind them and sent a message to Lan Qingyue. Where are you? However, he spotted a blue figure in front of the building when he walked out of his class. Wow, Lan Qingyue. It's Lan Qingyue. Lan Qingyue is extremely gorgeous. Her beauty is beyond comparison. We could only appreciate her from afar. Lan Qingyue is a well-known goddess in our school. She's even more famous than Guan Shuqing. I heard her family owns billions of assets. She's way too awesome. If I could marry a goddess like her, I'd be willing to shorten my life by 20 years. The rest of the guys, including Zhang Wen, Zhang Feng, and Wang Dahai, were commenting on her as they looked at the blue figure fervently. Guan Shuqing was a goddess, and she was known as one of the 5 goddesses in school. Same for Lan Qingyue. But Lan Qingyue enjoyed a higher reputation than Guan Shuqing in the University of Rivertown. Firstly, she was the vice chairman of the student council. Secondly, she was a billionaire princess. Elegant, aloof, and she made people feel ashamed of themselves. Guan Shuqing received many confessions, but not Lan Qingyue, as not many guys had the confidence to do it. Even the children of the wealthy families did not dare to fool around in front of her. Elegant, aloof, this was Lan Qingyue. Hey, Lan Qingyue rarely makes an appearance in school. I wonder who she is waiting for. Wang Dahai said curiously. Perhaps it has something to do with the student council. Zhang Feng made a guess. The rest of the surrounding students were staring at Lan Qingyue with interest. Wang Xian chuckled when he overheard their conversations as he walked towards Lan Qingyue. Hey, old Wang, where are you meeting Guan Shuqing? Asked Wang Dahai curiously as he spotted Wang Xian walking out. I'm not having dinner with Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian spun around and smiled at him. Without any words, he came to Lan Qingyue. Sorry to keep you waiting. Wang Xian looked at her and said with a smile. I just got here too. Let's go to the canteen. There's a new delicious hot plate rice. Lan Qingyue smiled as she handed the beverage to Wang Xian. This is for you. Wang Xian was a little stupefied when he looked at the pretty and gentle Lan Qingyue. Thanks. Let's go. It's been a long time since I last ate in the canteen. Lan Qingyue was tagged closely to Wang Xian as they made their way to the canteen. Wang Dahai, Zhang Wen, Zhang Feng, and the rest of the classmates were behind them. They watched them walking off with their eyes wide open. All their faces wore unbelievable looks on them. Chapter 110. Known throughout University of Rivertown, 1. Shocking news. After one of the five goddesses, Guan Shuqing, was seen having lunch with a guy and had seemingly fallen in love, our goddess Lan Qingyue was also seen having dinner with a guy. Moreover, the guy they ate with is the same person. Their actions were intimate and looked just like a couple. The male protagonist is none other than the immoral Year 2 Wang Xian. What does the immoral Wang Xian truly possess to allow him to eat with two of our goddesses in the same day? What kind of scumbag is the immoral Wang Xian? Please follow our thread as we bring you into Wang Xian's life. Oh my goddesses, please take a good look at him. He is an immoral beast to go out with two of you in the same day. That's a disgraceful breach of norms. The immoral Year 2 Wang Xian, a godlike existence, deserving of our worship. The school forum was a lot more raucous today than normal. However, the comments on the forum also made countless people dumbfounded. The first was Guan Shuqing rejecting a guy's confession and going to the canteen with another guy for lunch. And the second was their goddess, Lan Qingyue, meeting up with the same guy for dinner. This was a tragic development as it dealt consecutive blows to the fragile minds of many male students. However, what made countless male students enraged was that the one who accompanied goddess Guan Shuqing for lunch and goddess Lan Qingyue for dinner was the same person. The same Year 2 guy. If there were two different guys, the other male students might just drown their sorrows with alcohol in memory of their crushes. However, if there was only one guy, that's a different story. What they wanted to do the most currently was to turn that scumbag, the immoral Wang Xian, into memories. That's right, he's an immoral beast. It would have been fine if he had just gone out with one of their goddesses. However, he went for both goddesses at the same time, having lunch with Guan Shuqing and dinner with Lan Qingyue in the same day. This asshole. They couldn't even get one and now a guy had gotten both of them? Who could tolerate this? No one could. They had to expose this immoral beast and let their two goddesses see the true character of this man. And to also let the huge female cohort in the University of Rivertown know the existence of this immoral beast, Wang Xian. If the incident in the afternoon made Wang Xian famous, what happened at night made his name known throughout the entire University of Rivertown. When Wang Xian returned to his dormitory room, he immediately sensed three pairs of intense eyes looking towards him. Io, our immoral beast, old Wang, is back. A voice filled with jealousy and envy sounded from Wang Dahai. Huh, Wang Xian paused and looked at Wang Dahai, feeling puzzled. Damn, and you are still looking at me with those innocent eyes. Old Wang, I believe it will be better for you if you lock the door to the room. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be people charging in to beat you up. Looking at how Wang Xian had reacted, Wang Dahai gritted his teeth in anger. Having lunch with Guan Shuqing in the afternoon. Having dinner with Lan Qingyue at night. Immoral beast. Haze. Comparing would only make one feel inferior. Old Wang, if you weren't our roommate, we would definitely beat you up severely. Zhang Wen exhaled slowly and looked as though he wanted to eradicate the scourge for the greater population. What exactly happened? Wang Xian looked at them and still had no idea what was happening. Take a look at the forum yourself. When the three of them saw his innocent expression, they gritted their teeth and remarked in unison. Wang Xian shrugged his shoulders, walked to his study desk immediately, and loaded the school forum webpage. What the hell? When he saw the entire forum being overwhelmed by the same message, he couldn't help but blurt vulgarities. It was especially so when he saw the word in front of his name. He was on the verge of spitting blood. Immoral beast, Wang Xian, asshole. When he clicked into each thread, all the comments were condemning him. They were condemning him for being a two-timer and for overreaching for someone way beyond his league. Some threads even published his personal particulars. However, they were quickly removed by the moderator. Wang Xian saw the liveliest thread had over 8,000 comments. What the hell? There are only a total of 10,000 plus students in the University of Rivertown. I'm not a two-timer. Wang Xian shook his head bitterly and mumbled. You are not? Explain yourself then. Why did you eat lunch with Guan Shuqing in the afternoon? Why did you eat dinner with Lan Qingyu at night? At this moment, 3 grudgeful voices sounded. Wang Xian turned his head around and saw 3 guys staring at him with resentment. Even though Zhang Wen and Zhang Feng already had girlfriends, this fact did not stop them from condemning Wang Xian. After all, the 2 goddesses of the University of Rivertown had rumors with the same guy, and this infuriated many others. After listening to them, Wang Xian twiddled his fingers. He was feeling complicated. In his heart, and undoubtedly, he had seen Guan Shuqing as his girlfriend. As for Lan Qingyue, although it wasn't at the level of a girlfriend, Wang Xian naturally wished to be together with this girl from the bottom of his heart. He could also sense Lan Qingyue's admiration of him. But, with today's laws and societal norms, this was clearly difficult. It was especially so as the 2 girls would most likely find this hard to accept. Even if the 2 girls could agree, their parents would not. It was especially so for Lan Qingyue. Her family was wealthy, and she would be the future successor. Why would her parents allow her to suffer such grievances? Can you give me a cigarette? Wang Xian felt irritated all of a sudden. Although he didn't know how to smoke, he still asked for one from Wang Dahai. Damn, still want a cigarette? You better tell us everything now. What are your relationships with the 2 goddesses? Wang Dahai looked at him, feeling speechless, but he still gave him a cigarette. He even lit it for Wang Xian. Wang Xian took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. The smoke lingered around him. Wang Dahai and the group found this to be very pretentious. If you let me choose? Wang Xian took another puff. In his mind, 2 figures appeared. Nonetheless, he would have a clear answer if he had to make a choice at this moment. Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian answered. You are choosing? You. The trio didn't really care about his final decision. What they cared about was Wang Xian's reaction. Choose? You are actually thinking of choosing? Both goddesses were the dream girls of any man, and they would work their hardest just to be with either one of them. BZZ. At this moment, his phone rang. It was the notification sound of WeChat. Wang Xian looked across and saw 3 pairs of burning eyes staring at his phone. Coincidentally, another message was sent over. These messages were from 2 people, Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue. Wang Xian could feel 3 pairs of cold eyes staring at him. He felt helpless and revealed a bitter look. Taking his phone with him, he jumped onto his bed. All right, I'm sleeping now, he yelled and unlocked his phone. Guan Shuqing's message was, what are you doing now? Are you not going to the library tonight? Lan Qingyue's message was, I'm sorry Wang Xian. I might have caused you trouble. Looking at these 2 messages, Wang Xian felt conflicting emotions. Guan Shuqing couldn't possibly not know about the school forum. However, she didn't question Wang Xian. She ignored those comments and didn't condemn Wang Xian at all. This was trust and unconditional belief in Wang Xian. Lan Qingyue was apologizing to him for what had occurred at night and wasn't concerned about how this would affect her reputation. This was sacrifice. With 2 girls sacrificing so much for him, what else could he possibly ask for? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.